listening to Blue Collar Takes with your hosts, Pat and Ben.
Welcome back, everybody. Pat, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Just this plane crash, man. This plane helicopter crash. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Tragic, tragic, man.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. What is the Olympic team? The Olympic figure skating team.
Well, so it was U.S. skating or
Yeah.
figure skating, whatever. They just had their championships in. So I don't know that it was like necessarily the Olympic team, but it was
I don't.
definitely people from the Olympic team.
I don't know how any of that works. I just knew it was like some major team, and I thought that somewhere I got it caught up that it was people from the Olympics or something.
Yeah. So like there's coaches and stuff that had been in the Olympics before.
Okay.
And then
Those are
like
the
so
two
like
Russians.
like so you remember Nancy Kerrigan?
Yep.
She has a club in Baltimore. They lost like six people in the
Oh,
so it's
really?
like so you're hockey, right? So it's like USA hockey, right?
Okay.
Except for they have like a national championship and then that decides the Olympic team. Like they
Okay.
pick the winners of that to go to the Olympic team. Now I don't because I don't think it's till next year. I don't think the right Winter Olympics is next year. So I
Eh,
don't think they decided the Olympic team. I think this was just a competition they were coming back
okay.
from.
They're all young. Looking at those pictures, I mean, these were young girls.
Yeah, yeah, young. There's a couple of young boys too that like um some some really good athletes. Like
Ugh.
they were probably going to be on the Olympic team.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's tragic no matter what. But when you
Yeah,
look at it from the aspect of how young these kids were, and
how
I
they're
hate it.
dominating their sport. Like
Right? Yeah, top of their game. Right? It's
yeah,
like,
for sure.
and it seems with like gymnasts and figure skating, it's like they're always young.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
yeah, for sure.
To hear that though last night was just, it was crazy. I mean, I
Hmm.
think you sent me the text message. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, and you sent me the message of the video, and I looked at the video and I was like, well, that certainly isn't good.
Hmm.
Um, and what it ended up being was a passenger plane that had 65 on, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was 64. It was 60 people in a four-member crew,
Okay, so 64 on board. It collided with a Black Hawk helicopter.
which I've heard there's only three, but I've also heard there was more.
I've heard 3 and 4, and I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna know. Uh, the Army really has been tight-lipped. They haven't really released a statement because I think they're taking it on the chin in this one. But um, the plane was coming in for a landing, right, in DC and circled around to land on runway 33, which
Hmm.
is like there's, I think, three major runways at that airport, from what it sounds like. And they circled around, and while they were in their final approach, the Black Hawk flew right in front of them, and they just punched right through it and immediately took a nosedive, went right down into the Potomac, and crashed into water that was chest deep. And that's it. 64 people on the burnt plane and 3 or 4
Yeah.
on the Blackhawk are no longer with us, man. That's just
Hmm.
tragic. It's absolutely tragic.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think like they were playing. I don't know how much of it you've seen. You've been pretty busy, but um, they were talking to a guy who just got a text from his wife at the airport. Like he was
Yeah.
waiting for her. She was on the flight, right? Like, hey, we're just about to land. Like everything, like the system had it landing. So like people are like, oh, it landed. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not them.
So,
Like it just crazy. All the family, like emotional side of it. Like all those people were waiting at the airport for their family, right? Because
Like
they
they
were
had no idea
landing. They're
that
landing.
yeah, the flight's over.
You ever pick somebody up from the airport, you go early.
Hmm. And that's I saw some of those videos where they were bringing the family in and putting them in that like segregated area behind that. There's like a big sign up to like block everybody off.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, I mean, this is just the reality of it. Like you are hard pressed if you crash. It's different if it's a hard landing or a crash landing.
Hmm.
Your survival rates can go up, right? But I mean, if you're crashing from the air down, like an actual crash, your survival rates are extremely low, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to hear like the confusion that took place at the airport with the family and not knowing because a lot of them were like, no, no, they landed already. Like my wife
Yeah.
texted me, they're here.
Hmm.
Um, and then to just come to the realization that oh my god, they were about to land like seconds from landing, well minutes from being at the gate, and it's just terrible.
Yeah.
I
So there's
uh
a, go ahead.
eh, I just I don't know. I watched the video and I we talked last night. I'd sent you a text message like I don't know how the hell this happens. Um,
Hmm.
and I had my thoughts last night, and some of it was I was right about, and some of it was I was just like that. It's one of three things. Like
Hmm.
either the Blackhawk pilots couldn't see the plane,
Hmm.
or like air traffic control got something messed up, or whatever it was. Um, or something smelled weird there, right? Because I mean, how the
Right.
hell does that happen in this day and age? And now I think we have quite a bit more information about it, but I also have inside information that we can talk about here too. Um, and it does sound like this because I saw a lot on social media. People were like, "Okay, who was on the plane? This
Yeah.
is this can't happen. Whatever, this
Hmm.
can't happen." And so from what we know now, well, inside information, I don't know. What I'm guessing what we're going to find out when all is said and done is this is just like all the holes in the cheese are lining up, and I don't think it's going to be air traffic control's fault. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the pilots in the plane's fault. And I don't necessarily think it's going to be the pilots in the Blackhawks' fault. I think what it was is just a tragic event of um, all the bad situations that could line up ended up lining up. And this is one of those, I think it's going to sting a lot because there's been numerous close calls in that area.
There was
It's a
one,
very,
there was one 24 hours before.
yep,
Did you
it's
see
a
that
very,
with that
yep,
American
yep.
airline flight?
It's a very, very busy airport. And the way that planes have to approach puts them crossing paths that they shouldn't need to cross. And that's the way they did that. Um, why they do that is because it's DC and they're trying to make sure that planes aren't flying over Capitol buildings and things like that, right? Like, don't give an approach path to an aircraft just in case of the 9/11 thing. All that stuff changed after 9/11. I'll kind of, I don't know, should I go into it now after
Yeah, you
kind of
might as well. Yeah.
so I have a family member who's a colonel and he's flown Blackhawks for a long time. Our whole family's military. Like you're either military or law enforcement or contract security. You're somewhere in the mix. But he's pretty high up, colonel in the army. Uh, has flown that route and that Blackhawk, that same route that those pilots were flying. Now that was a training operation for those Blackhawk that Blackhawk crew. And he told me about, I knew this, everyone who's been in combat or has flown in Blackhawks knows in combat, you have four people on the bird, you have two pilots and two crew chiefs. And in training outside of wartime, you have at least three. Always going to have two pilots and one crew chief. I think this had three, but I've heard four as well. But he said he's flown that same exact route because they make you fly that because of how busy the airport is. They make you fly that to get used to uh, the amount of clutter that you can have in an area in combat and as well as in the civilian areas. So he's flown that a bunch of times. Uh, I asked him this morning, I said, well, how the hell does this happen? I mean, it's 2025. How do we have two aircraft collide, one on final approach, and neither aircraft knew the other one was there? How is that possible? And so this is the explanation I got from him. The Black Hawk crew on that flight was flying the approved training path. Okay. They're just doing circles, flying through the area training for that congested area, right? Air traffic control that has the job of watching the Black Hawk crew and the incoming aircraft. So here's where it gets a little bit muddied. Because of the flight path that you have to take when you land on 33, runway 33, it requires planes coming in to do a hard turn. And they start from roughly 3,000 feet and continue to turn, and they're descending as they turn into runway 33, which puts them over top of the Potomac. And then they come in on that final glide approach and land on runway 33. The Black Hawk was at, you know, considerably lower, obviously, where they ended up having that collision. It was probably 300 to 400 feet in the air. And that was where that Black Hawk was on that glide path coming across. So that aircraft, as it's making that turn and it's descending, it's lowering its altitude, it can't see what's below it. It's turning, so it can't see that Black Hawk. On top of that, the Black Hawk on top has what's called slime lights. They're very hard to see unless you're flying under night vision. And then you can see the rotors spinning from above. And that's just so that crew chiefs and other Black Hawk helicopters can look out their window and see exactly where other Blackhawks are when you're flying in formation, right? Because you want to have at least three rotors away, distance away from each other. Okay. So it's hard for anybody else not flying under night vision to see. Now, take on top of that, you have the ambience light of the city and you have your spot landing spot on that plane coming in. It's going to be very hard for those pilots, which I mean, you've seen what the cockpit view looks like out of aircraft. I mean, you can't see below you. You can see, unless you're banking really hard, you really can't see below you. And they were banking, just not very steep because they were on final. Um, then what ends up happening is the air traffic controller, it sounds like what we're going to find out, has a contact. And I've listened to the review and I have listened to the air traffic controller talk to the Blackhawk. And the Blackhawk rogers that there's an incoming flight or there's a flight ahead of them. And they roger up that they're supposed to go behind the flight. Okay. In that video, you see a flight leaving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Blackhawk thought that was the flight that they were supposed to be behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they were. They rogered up and they were behind. Now, here's the thing: if there's three people on the bird, on the Blackhawk, the crew chief is on the right side of the bird watching that flight leave, not on the pilot side, or he's on the other side, whichever side of the bird that flight is leaving. It's his job to maintain visual of that, to make sure that they are going to be on the outside, three rotor lengths on the outside of passing behind that aircraft, right?
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening was they got the wrong bird. So they saw the bird that they were told was they had to be behind, and they confirmed it. And somewhere in the communication, the confirmation was not correct. Okay. Between the control tower and the Black Hawk. They saw that plane leave, the one that was in front of the plane that they collided with. They rogered up that they would be behind it, and then they proceeded on and proceeded right into the path of the flight that was coming in. And the rest is, it's just tragedy after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this thing, the plane that was the plane actually that collided with the Black Hawk, it was under 1,000 feet. My cousin, who also flew um, for airliner, said that under 1,000 feet, your anti-collision systems they're not on. So there's nothing to tell you to pull up, pull up, pull up. So they wouldn't have had that on because they're coming in for a landing.
Right.
So there was nothing for them in that plane to tell them there was something in front of them and to deviate away from that area. So they just came in like normal. The Blackhawk, unless it's a newer version of the Blackhawk with updated systems, which from what I hear from some family members is it's very few of them have that on there. The Blackhawk obviously did not have it, or it would have realized what they were flying into. The air traffic controller believed that the Black Hawk understood his communication because he rogered up to it and had the flight that he was supposed to cross behind in visual and took it as okay, he knows what he's doing.
Hmm.
It's just a tragic miscommunication on a training flight in a busy airport that has added uh, flight maneuvers with systems not in place. And the added flight maneuvers are because of 9/11 and the DC, how you come into that area. You can't be flying over any of the buildings in Washington anymore. And all of those holes in the cheese just seemed to line up. And what ended up happening was the two aircraft collided.
So
It's
did
tragic.
Yeah, it is tragic. Um, did you see the thing about the air traffic controllers? About
I did.
they were short staffed last night.
Yep.
That
I imagine. I mean, you could
they normally had one just for helicopters and one for whatever. The anyways, I don't know how many they had for planes, but they had one specifically for helicopters. And last night they had somebody doing helicopters and planes.
one thing I picked up on listening to all the radio chatter, the communication between air traffic controllers and the inbound flights. The air traffic controller, and I'm not going to lay it at his feet because it's not just his fault,
Hmm.
was talking so fast that I couldn't understand what his communications were. I had to listen to it two or three times to get his communications. Now, if you're flying in that area and you're working with that air traffic controller and you've heard him repeatedly, like that Blackhawk crew probably has,
Hmm.
it's probably not as big a deal to you. But to me, we tell people to be when you communicate clear, concise communication, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and what I was getting out of that air traffic controller was a rush.
Hmm.
And that makes sense that they're short staffed and he's rushing to get his communications across. And I think what you had happen is, like I said, it was just a perfect storm. You've got a guy communicating. He's um, probably going faster and has to be faster. You know, I mean, he's
Hmm.
got it's one of the busiest airports on in the country, but
Yeah.
he's probably got to be a lot faster with his communications. And I think something got missed, obviously, between the communications between him and the Blackhawk pilot. Um, why they're letting a Blackhawk fly maneuvers in the airport uh, in flight paths of incoming flights that just sounds dumb to me. You can
Yeah.
do the same thing and just put them in the lineup and have them come in and touch and go, land and take off, whatever. You shouldn't be putting, I mean, this is just, it's stupid to be putting somebody in that situation. You set them up for failure. And then when they fail, you expect something different. I mean, um, I said to you today, they're going to hang it up on the army. It's going to be the army's fault because
Hmm.
it just makes more sense. It's definitely not the pilots in the plane. They're not at fault because they had no
Right.
idea they were
There's
doing
no
that.
way they could. Yeah.
They're not going to hang it up on the air traffic controller because um, it's a serious issue, right? The easiest issue is to claim that it was a pilot error on the Blackhawk. And then what comes out of that is a bigger budget for more training and uh, more of these types of situations. And the Army loves that. The Army
Hmm.
loves more money for more training, right?
Hmm.
This tragedy, they're going to say, oh, it's such a tragedy, but now we can really get our people trained up and whatever. I told you I have a feeling they're going to hang it up on the Blackhawk pilots, the Blackhawk crew, and say it was a miscommunication. They didn't understand the communication. Uh, in reality, what it is we've allowed this to take place, right? We're having aircraft cross paths in such close proximity that you have to ask a helicopter to hold up and let a plane cross in front of it, and then it can cross behind. All while more flights are coming in. That's
Hmm.
setting somebody up for failure, and in this case, the failure cost 67 or 68 lives. Right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a thing. You can do all the same training and put them into a rotation and have them landing or coming through the rotation just like every other plane. You don't need to have them crossing paths. That's that just seems stupid. And
Hmm.
if you're going to do that, do it at a military base. Don't do it in the civilian world. I know it's to me it's terrible losing any life, right? But if you're going to have that loss of life, it shouldn't be a bunch of freaking kids coming back from national figure skating
Right.
championship.
Yeah.
If a Blackhawk's going to be down, it better collide with a C-130, a C-17, something like that. It shouldn't be a freaking civilian airliner. That just
Mm-hmm.
pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, this is just it's one of those. It's a tragic situation. I think that where, like I said, everything just it went wrong. It went wrong from
Yeah.
all aspects, and it's not any one person's fault. It's the entire situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think we're gonna find out eventually. Uh, and we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'm wrong. Uh, like I said, where I got all this from, uh, the guy has flown. I think he has started flying Blackhawks in 2004, 2000 something like that, 2003, 2004. He's flown civilian airliners as a job and now flies on like a lifelink bird. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of time in the air. He knows this area really well and he knows what he's talking about. So uh, be hard pressed to believe that he'd be wrong on this, but who knows? We'll see what comes out. The investigation's got to take place, and
Yeah.
obviously we're gonna hear
It
it all.
seems like from Trump's statements that they feel like it's going to be put at the hands of air traffic controllers.
I caught that.
Uh,
I caught the
so
DEI and the
well, yeah, not only that, but he had said that it was at a height that it shouldn't have been at, and they kind of it's the way that they said it. It kind of made it sound like air traffic controllers put them at that height rather than the hundred foot is what they're normally supposed to be at in that area.
yes, yeah. I don't know. I don't know all of that.
So
Um,
and I don't know that for a fact, right? Like there's so much out there that we have no idea.
well, you can guarantee if it's coming from the White House, they know exactly what happened.
Well, they
And
didn't say the 100 foot thing. I saw that somewhere else, but he did say that the Black Hawk wasn't supposed to be flying at 400 feet.
yeah, and I mean, if he's saying that, he obviously knows what he's talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He's getting briefed by somebody. I know that
by everybody.
who was it that was just confirmed yesterday,
Sean Duffy.
and he immediately was called to the scene to handle this because it's his purview, right?
Yeah,
And so,
transportation.
yep. And so he's out there, and you can bet that went right back to Trump right from the beginning.
Yeah, well, I think, and I'm not sure that she was out there, but she was. Christy Nome was in contact with them because she's in charge of the Homeland
Yep,
Security with the Coast Guard. They
yep.
sent all their units that they could. And then
Um,
obviously with Pete being
yep.
sec def, that
Yeah, they're all working together.
yeah,
You can guarantee we're gonna know about it. I guarantee you they're gonna tell us
hmm
exactly what happened, and it's not gonna be full of shit.
yeah,
They're gonna tell us what it is, but in these situations, it's just easier to lay it at the feet of the military than it is to lay it at the feet of the civilians.
hmm
Um, yeah, and like I said, like I could imagine, um, from what I was listening to that air traffic controller, if I were to lay it at the air traffic controller, not knowing what height the flights were at, obviously I could tell from the collision video that when that plane hit the Blackhawk, that's the explosion you see is the Blackhawk
hmm
exploding, right?
yeah, yeah,
You see the plane proceed through the Blackhawk, and then it does a hard roll to the left because its wing is gone. So
yeah,
one of the wings has come off, and that causes the plane to roll, right? And you watch that plane roll because the wing is gone to the area to the side that the wing is gone, and then it just immediately nosedives down into the water. Um, when I saw that, I could immediately tell it was like 300 to 500 feet just by how
hmm
long it took the plane to come down to the ground. Okay.
sure,
And that plane's traveling pretty damn fast,
yeah,
but it still took a second and a half for that thing to impact water.
hmm
Um, we never saw an explosion on the plane because it impacted the water. And
well, it
I,
had probably burnt most of its fuel as landing, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they obviously they have extra fuel, but it's not like it was just taken off.
yeah. This is, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Outside of
crazy.
like knowing that elevation of whatever the Blackhawk was supposed to be there or not, the only thing I think I would suspect of that I could pick up was just the communications between the air traffic control and the Black Hawk. It was too fast.
Yeah. Yeah, and I should walk back what I said. I did not mean like the air traffic controller. I meant like the FAA and that office because of the staffing shortage. That's where it feels like it's going to be put on.
Yeah.
And Trump went after it a little bit, saying, "Well, that's part of the competency, right? Being fully staffed." So
He's not wrong. I mean, like,
no,
imagine
not
the
for
levels
a
of
job
stress.
like that
Yeah.
and
I
a
mean, imagine
burnout
the
rate
levels of
that they
stress.
have. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And to throw your short staff so you're getting hit with overtime or more workload in a busy area like that, like,
Mm-hmm.
no thanks. I don't want that job.
Yeah.
That's a very, very tough job. And it's obviously you have to be right all the time. You can't be wrong
Mm-hmm.
once. Right. What
Correct.
happens when you're
Yeah.
wrong once is this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, overwhelmingly, like, look at how successful they are. I mean, you don't have this happen.
You're right.
I mean, I
Well,
was
we are
talking
just
to,
talking about it. You and I
yeah.
were just talking about the last time
Hmm.
there's a plane crash in the U.S. We were
So,
watching that video of the one in San Diego.
right. Yep. And this is what gets me. My cousin said to me, he's this colonel. He
Hmm.
said, we haven't had an air carrier, a United States air carrier with fatalities since 2009. So the carrier that we must have saw was not United
It was
States.
no, no, it was the it was from Korea. Remember?
Was it?
Yeah, I thought it
That's
was. I can't remember the name
Oh,
of the airlines.
Asiana. It was Asiana. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Asiana. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. And because when he said that to me, I was like, I just watched a
we
video
just
where a
watched a
plane
video
landed
trying to
short.
put out the fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's crazy. It's
Hmm.
and this is just me being me, but this is why I tell you, bro, I won't fly.
Yeah,
I've said this before. Like, you've heard
I
me say
know.
this a
I know.
lot.
I've given you
I,
a lot of shit on the podcast and in life.
yeah.
That
I it's final, bro. It's final. Like, put me in a firefight, give me a rifle, and I have somewhat of control over my own destiny, right? You put me in a plane and it's going to crash, you have zero control over your own destiny. I just,
I
yeah,
understand.
call it what you will. My wife and my kids will be seeing a lot of tourist attractions on four wheels. They won't be
They
seeing
c-
it
they can come on
from the
vacation
air.
with my family.
Yeah, no, they're not allowed to get on a plane. Like, absolutely. I don't know. I just don't trust it anymore. Like, unfortunately, and I know it's safe when you look at the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of, flights that take off and land safely every day. I know
Every
it's
day.
safe.
Yeah.
I know it's safe,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it just takes one time
Yeah.
for it to not be
I
safe.
I get it, but I'm still getting on a flight here in a couple months.
I know. Does anything like this go through your head when you get on a flight?
Not at all. This was such a freak accident that it doesn't at all. Because how many freak accidents have you seen?
I I,
One,
I don't know. Like, no, I
maybe
mean, like,
two. They just don't happen, is what I'm saying. Like I don't.
yeah.
I've never witnessed one,
No, I mean, I
but
have not. I mean, who has seen a
right.
plane
That's what.
crash? And
Well, no, I mean just a freak accident, like just something completely crazy.
yeah,
Or it's like, dude, what are the odds of that happening?
but I say that all the time
Well,
with aircraft. Like,
apparently
what are
this
the
is pretty good because 24 hours before they had
right,
another
right?
another flight had to pull up, like abort
Yes.
the landing, so it didn't hit a helicopter.
Oh, there was a helicopter too.
Yes, it was the exact same situation.
Oh my God. Well, then something bigger needs to come out of that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I thought it was just two planes that
Well,
got close to each other.
I don't know that it was a Black Hawk. I do know that the helicopter passed in front of it and it had to abort landing.
That's
That
I don't
was
know, something
24 hours before.
a bigger investigation has to take place. And, like, again, like, you shouldn't be putting helicopters on that flight path. Like,
Correct.
I don't know. Tragic. It is absolutely tragic, but um nothing you can do now. I mean, you got to learn from it and you got to stop. You got to stop the stupidity of I don't know. We see it all the time in our work, right?
Of course.
Something will happen, and then there's an investigation, and then it comes
Right.
down to the whole like, well, we've had this happen 17 times before. Why didn't we stop it then?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't stop it then because it either cost money to stop it then, or somebody's ass was on the line that didn't want their ass to be on the line, so they didn't want to stop it. Then they didn't want to admit their pride got in the way, and it caused the situation to be there to begin with, or it was just plain ignorance,
Or
right? Like,
the bureaucracy, right?
right,
How many different government agencies would have had to get involved to try to figure that shit out? And so
right,
people just don't do it, right? Like
right.
you see it at every work,
It's
right?
not worth the squeeze. It's not
Yeah,
worth. It's never going to
yeah.
happen. It's never this. It's never
So how
that.
can we just, we just need to pay more attention to this or whatever.
Yeah. We'll send an email out to tell everybody,
Yeah,
hey, just
yeah,
so you know, this happened, and we
yeah.
pay more. Like, and that
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work, man. That leads to these situations. So like, I hope they do a bigger investigation and be honest with it. Like, okay, we've had this many close calls. We've had,
Yeah.
this many things have taken place, and here's our fix. I hope they do. Um,
Well, I think they're gonna have to because
well,
the
I think
news
with
is
this
gonna
group,
start. The news is gonna start. Well, I don't, I should take that back. I'm not really worried about this group doing that because I think they're going to, right? Like I
yeah,
just don't think there'd be a second thought. But they would have to anyways because the news is going to start
that's
looking at all the flights that were because all that stuff's online.
that's what I thought you were gonna say, and I think they try to hang. They've already tried to hang it up on Trump like it's his fault.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
When I
he's,
saw somebody, Pete Hegseth has been Secretary of Defense for 2 days, and this is what he's doing. Like, are you high?
yeah, I know.
Yeah, he
I
knows all of the flight plans for all of the Blackhawks in the military.
Right. I'm sure if there was the Black Hawk pilot was a trans pilot, this wouldn't
Yeah,
have happened. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
calm down. But I
yeah.
saw the same thing. CNN put out uh basically a thing about Trump with his firing, or the administrator of FAA
TSA.
stepped out, TSA, and
It was TSA, and somebody's like, "You realize that airport security
has
and
nothing to do with,
and actual flying is different, right? It's a
yeah, it has nothing to
different
do with
it's a different
flights.
agency."
Like, come on, man. But I mean, they're
Hmm.
doing everything they can already because that's
Of
just what they
course,
do, right? I
that's what
mean,
it's gonna be.
yep, a whole 4 years. But
Yep.
yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. Absolutely fucking tragic.
Hmm.
Yeah, ugh,
Yeah,
heart
I don't.
goes out to the families, and just,
For sure.
like, I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a tough one for sure when you look at like most of the flight was all these people from one group, right? Like it was a small plane, so it's 60 seats for, that's horrible.
Hmm.
I don't know, it just makes it seem, well, I mean, it's like anytime like if your entire family was on a flight and that went down, like it'd be the same thing. Like, man, an entire family is gone. And some of these families are.
Yeah, this to me, and this is gonna sound kind of weird. It kind of feels like the Kobe Bryant crash. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah,
these people, or
sure.
it's personal for some reason. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
It's
it's
just
just
because you
sad.
you got kids in sports, man. Like you get it. Like it's got to be.
Yep.
I don't picture you as a big USA figure skating um connoisseur, but it's got to be just the you can relate, going to kids tournaments or to whatever.
Fun fact: all three of my sisters were figure skaters.
Really?
One of my sisters was very, very good and was trying to be an Olympian, did not succeed. She was very good. So
Wow,
I was around figure
that's awesome.
skating for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, I love watching figure skating. I don't know where to find it except for like during the Olympics, right?
Hmm. Of
But
course. Yeah,
I think I've always watched
I
figure
do too.
skating since the time I
Figure
was a little
skating,
kid.
gymnastics, all those like how strong you have to be and how athletic to do that
Your
stuff.
balance to
Yeah.
go up and hit a triple or a quad and like come down, whether it's a,
I
I'm not
stand
going to get into
corrected.
this.
You are a figure skating aficionado. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm telling you, man, I grew up traveling with my family to go watch one of my sisters figure skate,
Yeah.
whether it's triple axles or triple lutzes or camel
Look at
spins or
look at
yeah, I
you.
trust me, bro. I grew up in in that uh in that area.
Right on.
And it's kind of funny because I think that got me on the ice
Oh,
way
sure.
before. So
Hmm.
I was probably on the ice with my sisters when I was maybe 18 months old. So skating, like actually skating by the time I was three,
Hmm.
that helped out with hockey. So
Sure.
my parents had no qualms about sticking me on the ice with my sisters, and I don't know. So it's been around that sport my entire life, and I still watch it. I still find it absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
So just to see those people that can do that is it's just like watching the NFL. Just
Yeah.
like the level of
The
talent it takes
You're
to
the best at your sport.
yeah, and I love that. I love seeing that. Right?
Hmm.
There's something uplifting in watching a competition when you're seeing the best of the best compete.
Yeah.
Who can hack the nerves and who can whether it's gymnastics or what stick the landing and I don't know. Yeah,
Hmm.
I am definitely know figure skating.
Sweet.
Very sad, man. Very sad.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Mm, it's too bad.
Hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what else comes out about this, but I think it's pretty much out there. Like it's just going to be expanding on what we
I
think
already know.
it's going to go,
Yeah.
where we think it's going to go. But
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a full report and a full lessons learned and
hmm
the
hmm
biggest thing is we just can't have it happen again, right? It's
yep,
just got to
that's
be
right.
this is tragic. We're going to take this one on the chin and we're going to have to take care of the families and do the right thing by everybody involved and
Yep.
then just learn and move forward.
And there needs to be a review at all other airports too.
Yeah. Yeah, this can't happen anymore. Why are you
Hmm
putting that just putting a
hmm
freaking Blackhawk in the flight path of a freaking airliner? That's just asking for this disaster. Why are you
Yep.
doing it?
Yep, for sure.
All right. All right, one more thing before we wrap this whole spiel up on the crash.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people coming out now with conspiracies about what took place and the Blackhawk being a remote operated Blackhawk and flown into the flight path on purpose because of the parallels to the 1961 Olympic skating team plane crash. There's always going to be some kind of conspiracy theory out there. And you know me, I love a good conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Uh,
Me too.
uh, there's just nothing here with that, right? We've already seen Pete Hegseth come out. I mean, the first SecDef ever to do daily briefings to the American people via like recorded messages he's putting out.
Yeah.
He's already come out and told us it was an annual nighttime training that they had to go through. There was three members on board, um, and it's just a tragic accident.
Yeah.
There's no benefit to killing the Olympic skating team or whatever this is, this national
Yeah.
skaters or whatever. There's
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no benefit,
Yeah.
right? Yes, there's other people on board the flight, and that's kind of like what everybody's trying to say right now is, oh, there was somebody important on that flight, and it's a conspiracy. This thing was remotely flown into it, and blah 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 blah.
The longer
You're
it
gonna,
takes to figure out who that important person was, they're not that important. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
oh,
I mean that
that's
as
absolutely true.
you can stretch anybody to be important, right? And the
Absolutely
longer that takes, the harder it is for you to make that this was a dignitary argument.
right. I mean, if this were Trump on the plane, I'd be like, okay, yep,
Right.
I believe you. If
Well, and
this were
immediately people were like, was Pete Hegseth on that plane? Or on the
right,
Blackhawk?
right, um, yeah, this to me again. Last time I'm gonna say it. It was all the holes in the cheese lining up, and it was just a tragic accident that took place
Hmm
during an annual exercise that the Blackhawks have to conduct for night training, night flying through the area in a congested area that they practice with, right? They had to do this to get trained and qualified so they could go downrange and do something else. And it just ended up in tragedy, right? It's everything that happened. It led to this moment. And the biggest failure here of all of it is that we allowed this to take place.
Yeah.
It became acceptable to put aircraft in other path and flight paths of other aircraft. You shouldn't do that, right? But
The
do I think this was a conspiracy theory to fly a plane into another plane and kill somebody? No, I don't. I do not.
mhm. um yeah. Yeah, we can leave it at that.
I agree. So what's next? Let's talk about before we go into the confirmation stuff, which I think is going to be the bulk of what we're talking about here. Well, let's talk about some other stuff, man. Like ICE is on the move.
Yeah, ICE is doing their thing. So if you look at their numbers, like they said they're gonna start um compounding, I guess, if that's the right word. But
Mm.
right now it's like 1,000 people a day that they apprehend, and they put like another 1,000 detainers on. But uh yeah, I don't know. There's they've been hitting New York and Chicago and all over the place, I guess. Uh
California, Arizona,
mhm.
Colorado has had some. Basically, if you're a sanctuary city, you can bet that you're going to find ICE there in the next 30 to 90 days.
Yeah, so it's not just ICE. The ICE is working with U.S. Marshals, ATF, FBI, DEA, everybody, HSI. Everybody's doing some. There was a controversy in Chicago where that idiot governor, what's his name, Pritzker,
Yep.
he they had come out and said that ICE was headed towards a school and the school staff stopped it. Like they blocked them, they wouldn't let them come in or whatever. Turns out it wasn't ICE, it was Secret Service addressing a threat that had been made. And so they all look like idiots now again.
Well, it's Chicago. Pritzker's an idiot. So
The
it does not
teachers union
surprise me between
helping.
the mayor and the governor and the teachers union. It does not surprise me that it's just poorly run.
Hmm.
But it's been like Tom Holman's not messing around. Trump is not messing around.
No, no, they're not.
This is happening, and I watched. I think it was Colombians or maybe it was Argentinians. Who was it where the president said you can't land here? Was it? It was Argentina, right? It
No, it's Colombia.
was Colombia.
Yeah,
Uh
Colombia told the refused the deportation flights.
yeah, and then within like 3 hours they changed their mind because Trump's like, fine, here comes taxes, 25% now, 50% next week, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so finally those flights arrived, and as the people were getting off the flight, they're being interviewed by a reporter, and you watch all these people talk about how they were treated, and they're like, well, they didn't feed us all really good meals. They didn't they weren't very nice to us. The people that deported us weren't very nice to us. And they locked us up for 7 days prior to us being deported, and they wouldn't let us leave or go outside. They wouldn't let us. And at the end of it, the reporter asked him, well, what would you say to everybody else that's trying to make the trip to the United States? The guy said, don't go. Don't go. It's not worth it, and they don't want you. And he's then the guy said, some of us regret even ever leaving Colombia. We're glad to be home. And that's just a bunch of shit. He's just saying it
Hmm.
because he got sent home. But at the same time, that's the message, right? We're doing
Right.
this as a country because don't come. We have a
Right.
legal way for you to get here. If you want to enter that system, then you can come. Uh, don't just think you're coming across and it's a freebie anymore. Don't come. And there was like three or four people that were interviewed that all said the same thing, that they were so treated, and the food was very poor. They didn't feed them very well. Like, listen here, you motherfucker.
Hmm.
You are here illegally. I don't care if they fed fucking Tic Tacs. Get the
Yeah.
fuck out. And that's probably not a nice way to look at it. I
Mhm.
get it, but at this stage of the game, we've seen way too much bullshit. We can't be taken advantage of on a continued basis and expect that uh everyone should just roll over. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's almost like the level of entitlement. Like, you didn't feed me. What the hell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it. The entitlement.
Yeah. I just, it just blows my mind with how this is all shaken out. And honestly, it's because of previous administrations, how lax they were on absolutely everything. Right.
Hmm.
I mean, these people got free gift. They got like gift cards, essentially. Really, when they got here, a debit card. Here you go. Here's your money. And they're getting all this money given to them by the Biden administration. Why? Because the Democrats are freaking buying votes. They were trying to get illegals to be able to vote. They were going to grant mass amnesty so they could continue to win because they knew their policies were that damn bad. They knew who they were turning into. They knew it was so bad that they had to import new voters. And that's what they tried to do illegally.
Hmm.
I mean, they set up an app on a phone, CPB1, we've talked about it, where you could apply to come across and they would just let you across the border. And then when that got screamed about, they're like, okay, well, we're going to limit that to like 1,800 a day. And that's still like 370,000 a year, right? That's more than the city of
Yeah.
Minneapolis
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. It's ridiculous. The level of entitlement that they created, and I guess it's not even just. And when you look at the Biden administration, that's exactly what that administration was. It was entitlement, right? I mean,
Hmm.
whether it's somebody getting fired and refusing to leave because Trump fires them and they have to be drug out of their office, or it's the illegals in this country. They're like, hey, you got to feed me a 5-star meal. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Where's my debit card? Give me my money. I mean, it's just that's what we've created all the way up through all the freaking DEI movements. That's all you've created under the Biden administration is a level of entitlement. And
Hmm.
that's coming to an end, man. And I'm glad it's starting with immigration because it's not that I care about illegal immigrants per se. What I care about is the fact that my vote will never count again because you're actively bringing in enough illegal immigrants to render my vote useless, right? That's what I care about.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a problem for me and for I think for all of us. It's a problem. A clear mandate was given for Trump to take over and fix things, and that's what's happening. They're definitely fixing things.
Yeah. They're definitely going after him and fixing him. They're going after the criminals now. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be going after all the rest of them soon. So we'll
Well, it's
see.
like Tom Holman said, no one's off. It's they're going to go after the criminals, but if you get caught up with
Correct.
a criminal, you're going to just the same, right?
Yeah. He was talking about. If you don't let us come into the jails or the courts, then we're gonna go into their communities, and if you get wrapped up in it, you get wrapped up in it. You're an illegal alien, and you're going back.
Mm-hmm. It's the level of, I mean, for fuck's sakes, I saw one video of this lady. She's Hispanic, and she's screaming about Americans and anybody who voted for Trump. And she said, you're no longer allowed to eat tacos or burritos. You're no longer allowed to travel to Mexico for Mazatlan or to go anywhere and to go any of the tourist areas. And she said, you stay there. We're fine here. We don't want you because you don't want us. And it's just like the level of stupidity that is in her brain. You weren't benefiting us by being here. And by us, I mean the overall general public of the United States. You were
Right.
a detriment to us. I had to pay for you to be here.
Correct.
When we go on vacation to Mexico, we're benefiting everyone in Mexico.
Mhm.
Our money is putting places on the map. It's supplying jobs. It's supplying resources that are being brought in that otherwise wouldn't be there. And we're honestly propping up your freaking government because there's two things that are propping up your government right now in Mexico. One is corruption with cartels, and the other is tourism. So if you take away the tourism, I guess all you have is cartels. And if you're too stupid to see that, if you're too dumb to understand that, well, then yeah, I don't really care either way. I don't need to eat your fucking tacos. I don't care. But I bet
Mm-hmm.
this is what I bet. I bet you Taco Bell is still here. I bet you Taco
Mm-hmm.
John's will still stay here. I bet you every Mexican restaurant is still going to be here, even though you don't want it to be because you're mad that you got deported and family members of yours got deported or whatever it is that you're mad about is happening. Um, you don't just get to come here illegally. I can't
Mm-hmm.
go to Mexico. I can't go to, get thrown in a Mexican prison. How the fuck does that work? The expectation is you can come here, be a Mexican citizen, and still vote in a Mexican election, and then somehow you're going to be able to vote in our election. So you can pick a sympathetic president that still thinks it's okay for you to be here and be an American citizen, and you can keep your dual citizenship as a Mexican. No, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
One way or the other. You come in legally, you can be an American citizen, you can assimilate, you can learn fucking English, and you can bring your vast and diverse culture to ours and make it better. And we can all assimilate, and nobody should have to press fucking two for English or one for English or whatever it is. You just go that route and we fucking work together, or get the fuck out. It's that simple. And that's the way it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting to see this around the entire world at this point where people are getting sick of it. And other countries are starting to say, yeah, we're wrong. We're wrong with bringing in all this illegal immigration and plopping it down, whether it's the what was it in just the United Kingdom, the freaking gang rapes or the
Yeah.
mass gang rapes that were taking place.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you bring in a culture that doesn't care that they're marrying a 13-year-old girl in their culture, well, they're gonna freaking try to have sex with a 13-year-old girl in your culture. If they're not
Right.
going to assimilate to your culture and what you want, this is what's going to happen, right? And
Yeah.
we started to see it here in our country with crime and with rape and with everything else. All the shit that would happen in South America that they get away with because their police forces suck, their intelligence agencies and their federal bureaus that can investigate their crimes are terrible. It just allows that mindset of I can get away with it, and
Yeah.
we imported it here.
Well, and
And
how long
Trump
have we
was
let
right.
them get away with it?
Right, exactly, exactly. And Trump was right. They are emptying out their prisons. They are
Yes.
paying them to freaking take off to the United States, and the crime rates all over their countries have gone down because we imported the crime here. So it's a terrible idea, and I'm sorry if that bothers anybody. If anybody's offended by that, you're not American. If you're American and you still think that illegal immigration is the right of all people, no, it's not. It is not the right of all people. It is the way that your empire falls. And you can look at just about every major empire throughout the course of human history, and you watch what has happened to them. And this is the start of it. This is how it starts to go down. It starts to break apart and it starts to fall apart. And we're there. We can't handle it financially. We can't handle it security wise, especially if you have a fucking bunch of idiots who are throwing money around left and right, like the Biden administration,
Mm-hmm.
and not paying attention and securing their borders. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
So thank God we have Tom Homan in there just kicking ass and taking names. And you can take your fucking tacos and go home. I don't care. At this point, America first.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's got to be.
Yeah. That's the way it's got to be.
It has to. Uh, I'm sorry. Our kids were born here. We lived here our whole lives. You're here for 3 or 4 years. You're not going to tell me how I get to live my life. Take your fucking happy ass home, and that's the way it's going to be.
Right.
Sorry.
Yep.
Uh, End of story. End of
Yes.
story.
Yep. I don't really have anything else to say to that. You've fucking nailed it. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it should be, right? You coming in here and assimilating, and they're not. Look
No.
at the Somali community in Minneapolis and several other places that are
Mhm.
just like completely secluded.
Well, not only is it completely secluded, they have their own law enforcement people running around
Right.
enforcing Sharia law
Yeah.
on American fucking soil. They're using prayer call at oh dark 30 in the morning to call a prayer on American soil. Now, that doesn't really even bother me that much. That the prayer call, go ahead and do your thing. You have a First Amendment right just like everyone else. But you can't fucking have your own police brigades going around enforcing Sharia law on your community, but we already have laws on the books that represent Western culture. You came here to get rid of or to get away from wherever the fuck you were.
Yeah.
You came here. So you could flee whatever it was you were fleeing. Do not import your bullshit here. We don't want it. We don't want it. You either come here, continue to be a strict Muslim and follow your faith like you should or like you care about, but at the same time, you respect our laws and our culture because now you're a part of it, right? The
Yeah.
whole thing about a diverse and a vast culture is what was the best parts of your culture can be added into ours, and that makes
Yes.
our culture stronger. And
Yep.
going forward, your culture and our culture coincide, and we become stronger. We become a
Mm-hmm.
better people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're only going to hang on to your culture and you're going to completely disregard any part of ours because you think yours is better, you're not adding anything to ours.
Correct.
You need to pack your bags and get the fuck out. You can go back to whatever war torn country you were from where your dictators will take control of you again and you can play that game there. We don't need that level of bullshit here. That's how it is. That's
Mm-hmm.
how it has to be. And I don't care. Like, I know people are gonna be like, well, that's really harsh, and that's you can't do that. They're human beings. There are human beings all over this planet that people don't give two fucks about. I watch all these people running around on these videos bitching about the Trump organization and how terrible and human rights violations. And these motherfuckers are wearing clothes that are being made by Uyghurs in fucking Chinese sweatshops while they're in concentration camps. And
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get on the pulpit and talk about freaking how bad so and so is or how bad this person is. Like, you're so uneducated. You're so vastly uneducated. You're full of tard, and you just need to stop talking or find a different country. All of you fucking people were like, when Trump gets elected, I'm leaving the country. Why the fuck haven't you left yet? Why?
Because they said they were going to Canada. Now he's going to make it to 51st state.
Fuck. Well, we need to send him to Australia. Take the fuck off, go to Australia because that place is thunder fucked.
Yeah.
So they can go there. That's an island.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Get away.
Yep.
It's I don't, it's just it's fucking frustrating. It's infuriating, man. Like on all these levels, you're watching this crap unfold, and we're moving in the right direction and quickly in the right direction. But you're watching these people melt down because of the level of entitlement, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, you have to work for what you have in this country. I'm sorry you don't like that, but that's kind of how this is. The American dream wasn't just you get to fucking sit on your couch and do nothing and I pay for you. That's not the American, that's not my how is that a dream for me? It's a nightmare. It's not a dream. That's a nightmare for me. I
Yeah.
don't want to pay for your ass to be here so that you can go and fucking do whatever you do all day long and continue to collect a free paycheck. And then on the same side of it, how many of these people committed crimes that were serious? We're up to like, I think the number was 32,000 people they've apprehended right now that I saw that had violent crimes that are being sent back.
Mm-hmm.
That's holy fucking shit. Are you kidding me?
They're up to 32.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Up
Oh,
to
really?
32,000.
That's pretty good. I last I'd seen was just like $1,000, a thousand a day. So that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
that's ridiculous for what? 10 days?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people in 10 days.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. That's all I got to say about that. I'm sure I'll say more later, but
I'm sure you will.
tell me
And
how
we
you really
both
feel.
will. Yeah, we both
Yeah.
will. Doge
Oh yeah. Hit me.
saving $1 billion a day right now.
That's insane.
They're saving $1 billion a
That's
day.
that's
And
insane.
Elon said, well, I hope it's $3 billion a day soon.
That's insane.
That's $1 trillion.
Yeah.
And they're just doing it through like staffing and stuff. How crazy is that?
Well, that's insane. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If we have 4 years of Doge, think about that. We'll have a balanced budget for the first time
Well, yeah, we'll have a
ever.
balanced budget, but there's a lot. It's hard. It's crazy to say, right? Like $1 billion a day. Well, that's not enough. That's only $365 billion a year. You know,
Right.
your deficit's what, almost a trillion, or is it almost 2 trillion now?
Yeah, it's got to be close to 2 trillion a year. I mean, we're the last time we looked at that and we talked about our debt, we were 34 trillion in debt. And remember, we thought by the time 2027 rolled around, we'd be at 40 trillion in debt.
Mm-hmm.
So um, it's not enough and it's not fast enough. But here's the other side of this. If Trump is good in trade, right, and he can increase what we can take in trade, he can again cut down some of that. Trump himself, this is a while ago. He was still on the campaign trail, and I can't remember where he was, but he had said if he does a really good job and he can maximize what he does, he thinks he could probably knock the debt down by $7 trillion while having a balanced budget. And I'm like, 7 trillion, bro. That's like we'll still be at 25 to
Yeah.
26 to 27 trillion in debt. Like that's not
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
You would need multiple Trumps in succession to continue to do these same things. And the reality is, and we've seen it with these hearings, these fucking people are bought and paid for. You're seeing it now live, like in the open, bought
Hmm.
and paid for. Um, yeah, I just I don't know. It's a mountain to climb. And how the fuck did we get here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the Doge clock, there's pulling up
They
the
started one.
the debt clock.
Yeah.
They added a Doge clock now.
Okay.
That's at 39 billion dollars in
What's the
eight
debt
eight
clock at
days.
right now?
36 trillion.
36. Okay. So, and yeah, we
In
thought
about
40
in
trillion.
in about 9 months, it went up to almost $2 trillion.
That's insane. That is insane.
Did you see the other thing about Doge that they stopped a payment that was going out that Trump had signed an executive order not to? So they must be doing like we talked about using AI, right? Because they stopped Doge stopped the payment at like the last second going out before the money was wired for a group that Trump had signed an executive order was not supposed to be getting the money anymore, and the bureaucrats are still sending it. Like they're still sending it.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
So they
I
found
mean,
it, and
look
I'm
at what they're
guessing
doing.
they're getting fired.
Look at what they're doing. Like, uh, Trump came out and he said initially, anybody who's got a DEI job in the government, it's gone. You're done. And so I can't remember what branch it was or what
ATF.
was it ATF who then rebranded all of their DEI people and gave them a different title.
They just
Well,
changed. They just got rid of the DEI. It was like just chief of staff or whatever.
right, right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: the internet's forever. When you put it out there, obviously
Correct.
you can go back. And so those people, they're getting shit on right now. Like, no, 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 this is not what this person's gone.
Hmm.
Sorry, you had them as a DEI hire. You had them as the equity inclusion advisor or whatever. Like, they're gone. Goodbye.
Yep.
And people are pissed off. They're getting mad about it. Well, you sent me that video. Was it the video or maybe it was the just the X that somebody had put out where it was a government employee that was pissed off and she was asking for prayers because she was being brought back to work.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
mandating her to come back to work and she lives an hour
5 days.
and a half,
Hour and a half away.
hour and a half away from work. And it's a 3 hour drive both ways. And she's being made to come back where she was able to work remotely before. And now she has to come back and work 5 days a week in the government office. And it's not fair. And it doesn't like the entitlement of these people are fucking insane. It's
Yeah.
insane.
It's insane.
Okay, listen, lady, every one of us has to go to work 5 fucking days a week, or at least work the schedule we're supposed to work. And some of us also drive an hour and some odd minutes to fucking work one way. I don't want to hear you fucking complaining. You've gotten to sit on your couch and do nothing and milk the fucking government fucking tit. Like, fuck you. You've been sucking off the government tit long enough. Off, and it's our money paying for it. You know what I mean? Like the rest of us in America that are doing it, going to work every day, busting our asses, working shift work, working 12-hour shifts, turning wrenches, knuckle busting, fucking putting in roads and bridges and buildings and welders, pipe fitters. The rest of these people who are doing this every fucking day wake up at the crack ass in the morning, work all goddamn day, and come home just to get up and do it again. So you can fucking complain that you have to come to work for 5 fucking days? Are
Yeah.
you fucking serious?
Hmm.
The level of entitlement, this generation of people that we have put in, I don't even know what it is. Some people just need to be fucking knocked the fuck out. Get
Yep.
out of here. Get the fuck out of here with your nonsense. Who the fuck are you? Whatever happened to the old spirit of the American people where you work hard and you play hard? Now it's, well, I don't want to work hard. I just want to be able to do what I want to do. And you should
Hmm.
just give it to me. And then when somebody goes against it, like a Trump, like, no, 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 we're not doing that anymore. You're going to earn your paycheck, come to
Yeah.
work and earn it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, you're the worst president. Pray for me. Pray for you? Are you out of your mind? That's got to be a joke, right? Pray
Hmm.
for me because I have to come to work for 5 fucking days a week.
No kidding.
And then she's complaining about her drive. Okay, well, here's the deal. Move or get a
Right.
different job.
Yeah.
Move or get a different job. That's what every other normal person has had to do. They either move or get a different job. It's just the level. God, man, I thank God they're doing this. It's all being exposed. Thank God it's being exposed.
Hmm.
There can be no more government drain. And you're going to see it, like the more that Doge is out there and the more DEI stuff that Trump gets rid of, you're going to see more of this crazy shit.
Oh yeah.
More of these people are popping up every day and having absolute fucking meltdowns. And it's glorious.
Well,
It's fucking glorious.
it's like the ag uh inspector general or USDA or whoever it was, inspector
Was that the one
general.
that wouldn't leave?
Yeah, she showed back up and she refused to leave. She got escorted out
Yeah.
because she said it was illegal. He couldn't fire her or something.
Okay.
I don't think you understand how this works.
Yeah, like yeah, clearly somebody like, you know what it reminds me of, right? That's taking place right now with all these people, whether it's immigration or whether it's the DEI stuff or all the crap combined. It reminds me of like jailhouse lawyers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like somebody told me that it was illegal. You can't do that. You can't.
For
You're
sure.
you're a moron. Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you are wrong. Get out.
Uh-huh.
Like it just, wow. Wow. It makes for really great videos. It does. The meltdowns and the liberal tears. I mean, it's comical. But
Hmm.
what I think, like, you and I have said this a lot. What we have needed forever is transparency and the public to see what's going on.
Yeah.
In these hearings, they're starting to see how corrupt the left is. They're
Yeah.
starting to get like, it is
They
starting to
the
come out
left
like
has just they I
imploding.
don't think they even know what to do other than to just start drama
It's
or try
imploding.
to.
It's imploding more and more every day because they have no policies that they can run on. They're bought and paid for by big pharma, by freaking
Big
big tech,
agriculture.
big ag. There's
Hmm.
nothing they can do, right?
Yeah.
And they're bought and paid for. And they have to freaking scream from the hilltops to save their jobs. This is what
Mhm.
happens, right? We've talked about this in the past. The career path for a politician is be inside the political circles, use insider trading to make as much money
Yeah.
as you can.
Yep.
Once it's done and you're not going to beat the next great face that's coming in, you take a lobbying job and you still get paid, or you get a book deal, or you do something like that where you're going to make more money because you've made some sort of agreements along the way because you're bought and paid for.
Hmm.
And then after that, you go away, but you've made enough money to where you're going away happy, right?
Yeah.
That's what they've done. Now listen to them scream. Listen to them scream. They're pissed off at the world, and it's glorious. It's glorious.
Yeah.
You watch them panic and you watch the freaking duplicity, you watch the freaking double standards that they live by. And oh my Lord, it's like, bro, Adam Schiff, you're talking to Kash Patel about a bunch of, you're calling him a liar. You made up everything with the
Hmm.
Ukrainian phone call.
Hmm.
Alexander Vindman's wife is having a panic attack because she didn't get a pardon. He didn't get a pardon. It's all because of you, you
Right.
slimy piece of shit.
Yeah.
You've done all of this. You deleted all of your files from the January 6th committee because you knew there was exculpatory evidence in there. You deleted it all.
Hmm.
And here you are going to talk to Kash Patel about being a liar? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's all on display. People are seeing it now.
Hmm.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And that's what happens. Transparency will, the light of transparency is absolutely going to send the cockroaches scattering.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, excuse me. Sorry, I'm still
Mhm.
dying. Um, budget deficit $2 trillion.
Okay.
So
We should keep an
I
eye on that.
finally saw it, found it in all these numbers
Because if
on
they
this
all
thing.
move at about the speed of light.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. What's crazy is we haven't even been doing this a year,
Yeah.
and it went up that much in that time frame.
May is when we started, I guess.
But for frick's sakes, I mean, Biden was sending how many billions to Ukraine and to Israel and to fucking he gave billions to freaking Iran and he gave billions to I mean it's going all over the place. And then I sent you that thing about the Catholic charities, right? Where
Yeah.
billions and billions and billions of dollars went to these Catholic charities. What in the hell are you doing?
On the way out the door.
On the way out the door.
Hmm.
Over the last year, it's almost $1 trillion has gone to these Catholic charities. Uh, It's just a waste of money.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
Yep. Who knows?
Oh well, I bet you we're gonna find
We'll
out.
find out. Yeah, for sure. We'll find out what it's for, what it was. But
Can you imagine the level of explanation that's gonna have to come out when the American people finally start to see where all their money, their taxpayer money, has
how
gone?
much money?
Yeah,
Like we're at
yeah.
$1 billion a day, and they're like, "Yeah, that's not really great."
You're taxing me at 40% so that it can all be ripped away from me and go somewhere else. To
Hmm.
where? Where's it all going?
Yeah.
I mean, we're paying so much money in taxes for them to just waste our money. Like, can you imagine when everyone finally gets to see where their money's going? Do you know just how pissed are we already? We kind of have seen some of it, but we've seen like a drop of the ocean compared to what they've done with our money. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
2 trillion in less than a year in debt, and we're just watching it fly out the window. I remember at one point we did a an episode we were talking about the money going to Ukraine,
Yeah.
and it was in the course of that episode they had dropped more money to Ukraine. You're like breaking another like 40 something billion is going to Ukraine. I'm like, are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, they just don't stop. They don't stop. And like it's gonna be I think it's gonna be eye opening. It already is eye opening. $1 billion a day. Doge is like, yeah, but we hope to get up to 3 billion. We're wasting that much money, honestly, a day.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what the tax breakdown is. How much of that belongs to me has come out of my paycheck?
No, dude, they want to get to 3 billion soon. They
Yeah.
want to get to 6 billion a day.
Good Lord
That's two
Almighty.
trillion dollars.
Yeah.
And then they hope that with that and then increasing the growth, the economic growth to 4%, that
Hmm.
they will be in a much better situation to fulfill the rest of their plans.
Listen, this. Tell me if you agree with this.
Hmm.
If Doge comes out and finds out we're super wasteful with all our money and finds ways to be way more efficient, if Trump stays transparent and fixes the DEI bullshit, the woke requirement bullshit, he reorganizes this all the fucking bureaucratic red tape so that we're not cutting off the lifeblood of our economy, which is our manufacturing sector, and he brings jobs back. If he gives us a new tax, a flat tax, and he gets rid of tax
Hmm.
on overtime, if he gets rid of the tax on tips, if he does all these things, our military is re-strengthened. We start making the world pay their fair share, and we stop getting in our fucking needless wars and supplying people all over the world, like Tulsi pointed out, for terrorists to overthrow freaking other countries because we're trying to, nation build apparently still. If we do all that, Trump does all that stuff, do the Democrats even have a fucking chance after RFK goes through and shows what they've taken money for and what they've done? Like, do they even have a chance?
I think they do. I think it's going to be a stretch, but I think they do because you lose Trump, right? So you don't have that part of it. Now, what they have to do is they have to get their shit together and they have to do this. They have to get the Republicans have to get on board. Um, as far as if they have a chance, the Democratic Party that is what it is now? No, but they'll have another movement break off like the Mega or the Maha,
A
and
rebrand.
yeah, yeah,
They're
you're
gonna
gonna
have to.
have the more moderate liberals, if you will.
You have to
Yeah, you
at
have
this
to.
point,
You have to go back
or
to that.
it's dead.
Well, yeah, it'll be dead for a while. It'd be why like what FDR did for the Democratic Party, right? Like they've
Mhm.
basically run everything since then.
Right. I mean, you have no choice at this point.
They had a dominant president, and so this is where
Yeah,
it's led to.
yeah. You have no choice but to rebrand and go back to what worked for you. And
Hmm.
this, what's working for them, what worked for them in the last 4 years, obviously
But
wasn't working for them.
if he saves auto workers, he saves all these jobs that the Democrats are threatening to kill, with the
Yeah.
policies or just flat out threatening to kill it, like the coal miners, stuff like
I
that. Like,
I can't for the life of me understand how people in California, with as much oppression that's taking place there in tax burden, or the people in Chicago or Illinois with as much they're seeing nightly on the news all the death that's taking place in Chicago and all the terrible policies. I just don't understand how people are not fully on board
mhm.
in either of those places. I just I do not understand it. And then I had this thought process that they're keeping people politically uneducated. And obviously, we know that Project Shield is out there, right? The covering of the mainstream media at a 98%, whatever it was. We said it back in the however many episodes ago that was,
Hmm.
where it's all negative coverage pretty much against Trump, right? So much so that it's insane. And then they had the Silicon Valley, the social media companies until Elon got a hold of X. They were all banning Trump and shadow banning any information that could be brought out there, whether it was YouTube or whether it was Facebook and Instagram, and all of these places were doing it. And now you're starting to see the other side of it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like all those controls are being lost, and the Democrats have no chance. They have none whatsoever if they continue to go down the same path that they're going down right now. And it just like in these hearings, uh I don't think they've learned their lesson because it's still the old guard of the Democrats trying to pitch their fights so they can, I don't know, show their masters that they are still playing ball for their team. But you're not in power anymore. That does no good. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the whole Cash Patel, Liz Warren, or Cash Patel, Bernie Sanders. The Cash Patel, Bernie Sanders thing was interesting.
The
Uh,
the RFK Bernie thing.
oh, there's both. There's both that are you're gonna have videos on here shortly. The RFK and Bernie was the onesie thing you're talking about.
No,
RFK and Bernie.
that was yesterday. Today's with so he had a what they called a like a I don't know. It was a committee hearing
You're
for
talking
him
about
and
where
another
RFK
committee.
called him out for taking money over for
Yeah.
being the leading, yeah,
Yeah, that was in
the
a
lead
different
the
committee
leading
that
acceptor of
yeah.
big pharma money.
Yeah.
I've heard it. I heard it one time. A listener sent it to me. Um, I didn't see that one myself, but I did hear
Oh,
that one. And that
that's a real good one.
do you have that?
The the Bernie and RFK?
Yeah,
Yeah, hold on. I sent
I
it to
mean
you.
that's exactly what we're talking about. Is the
Here you go. Ready?
yeah, play it.
America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? That's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie,
I love that he calls him
you
Bernie.
know, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, no, no, no,
Protecting
no,
their interests.
no. I thought that would, no, 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 no. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
2020, in 2020, you were the single largest
Because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money.
from workers all over this country. Workers.
You were the
Just
single,
not a nickel from corporate tax.
you were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but
The admission at the end there.
last question.
Well, he
Yeah,
kept arguing. He kept arguing that no, it was because it was from the workers, not from the pharmaceutical company.
Right.
Right. I don't think you understand how this works.
No, like there's records, Bernie. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
We know where
we
the
can
money
figure
came
out
from.
where they work. You know that, right?
Right. He's just insane. Like the whole process, though. That's what I'm saying. It's you're bought and paid for, and it's being put out there. It's being put on display. Like I thought RFK did a really good job in both hearings. Tulsi did a freaking amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
Like how the Democrats didn't make her the leader of their party, that was a really poor choice. By choosing Kamala and Biden to be the brand you're going after, that was a terrible idea because Tulsi's legit. She might be more center left than a leftist, right? She doesn't believe in the freaking DEI and all the woke crap. But the other thing that Tulsi didn't believe in that really got her canned from that party, she didn't believe in the corruption and like the training terrorists to, fight dictators, overthrow governments.
All right, so I got that. If you want to listen to it,
yeah, play that one.
This is her interaction with Mark Kelly, who she destroys.
Colonel Gabbard, when Russia was denying us use of chemical weapons, they accused the U.S. of supporting terrorists. This is a line that Putin used frequently during the Syrian civil war as he supported Assad. Syrian officials made similar comments. They did it repeatedly. They did it in public. They did it at the United Nations. In 2016, you gave an interview in which you said, and this is a quote, "The U.S. is providing direct and indirect support to terrorist groups in order to overthrow the Syrian government." And in 2019, on the Democratic presidential debate.
Now, this is what pisses me off about this line of questioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Arab Spring started in Tunisia, okay? And we did put people on the ground through proxy rebel forces. We paid them, and then we bombed the shit out of their government assets to force the hand in Tunisia. That then spread to Egypt, where we used the Muslim Brotherhood, right?
Yeah.
And then from Egypt, we went, after we removed Mubarak, we went to Libya, and we removed Gaddafi. We did all of those things under the administration, right?
Have you heard this clip?
No.
Oh, she destroys them by mentioning every one of those.
Okay, perfect. So the Arab Spring took place, 2014 through this. And I can already tell you, this is the same shit that Hillary Clinton freaking talking point where Hillary Clinton was going after. And like, Tulsi's not stupid. Tulsi's a lieutenant colonel. Bro.
Yeah.
She's a fucking lieutenant colonel. You don't get to that level by being stupid. So, okay, play it. I want to see where this goes now.
Yeah.
Like, this is
stage. You said of President Trump, this is a quote, "This current president is continuing to betray us. We were supposed to be going after al-Qaeda, but over years now, not only have we not gone after al-Qaeda, our president is supporting al-Qaeda." So I'm interested to hear, what was your goal in saying these things? And did you consider, before saying them, the motives of Iran and Russia, what their motives might have been before making these claims?
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of Al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists. It was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families, and my brothers and
Amen.
sisters in uniform. When, as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping Al Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at, and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with Al Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like Al Qaeda taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
It should
is
be.
certainly
And I
not in our
understand, and
interests.
I appreciate your answer, and thank you. My concern has to do with the tendency to repeat Russian and Syrian, and even in some cases, I think we'll get into in the closed session, Iranian information, and to discount what comes from our intelligence community.
Hold on, stop
Senator,
a second.
every
Hang on,
American
hang on.
deserves
It's almost
to
over.
know that people in our own government were providing support to our sworn enemy, Al Qaeda. That should not be acceptable by anyone.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, here's the
Sir
thing.
Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is what gets me. This son of a bitch comes out and says it's concerning to me that you would puppet the talking points of Putin, or who did he say? But Assad in
Assad.
Syria.
Yep.
And then he said, and possibly even Iran, right? But those were all true.
Right. So that was my take on the whole thing. You
It's not
cannot. You
concerning
cannot.
to you.
Yeah. You have to
It's
lie
true.
if Russia
Right.
tells the truth.
Right. If Russia tells the truth that Obama is through, and this is what people need to understand. Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Paul Ryan, those three pieces of shit were the ones that created ISIS. They created ISIS through the Muslim Brotherhood, which they picked up in Egypt after they overthrew Mubarak, because through that CIA program, they were training those soldiers to overthrow Mubarak and to move them into Libya to overthrow Libya. At the time that Libya was being overthrown, Muammar Gaddafi and a bunch of other proxies, whether it was Iran, China, and Russia, were talking about using a gold standard and creating their own stock exchange based off a gold standard. Obama then came in with all the other countries that could be overthrown, created the fucking Muslim Brotherhood and all these other freaking groups that were all Islamists, that were hardliner Islamists, and were used to overthrow Gaddafi. They did that because the military industrial complex wanted to destabilize the fucking Middle East so they could control it. That's what they were trying to do. It backfired because a group of fucking bloodthirsty sycophants ran right across Iraq after Obama was like, yeah, we're going to pull out of Iraq, something we never should have done completely, because then we just went straight back afterwards, and we had to fucking save hundreds of thousands of lives, that not even counting the millions that we allowed to get slaughtered by ISIS in the process. And then we used those same rebel forces in Syria to continue to go over Bashar al-Assad. It makes absolutely zero fucking sense whatsoever. And you're going to sit here when somebody's going through a confirmation hearing and be like, Russia said that we were doing these terrible things that we know that we were doing, that we've made public with all these programs that we were doing, that we knew we were doing. And you said the same thing that Russia said, which was true. How dare you say that? I need to know right now. are you okay with saying the same stuff that Russia said, which turned out to be true? It's
Yeah.
fucking asinine.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Listen, you can't tell the truth if Russia is. That's
Right.
all it is.
That's all it is. And
Yeah.
on top of that, it's like nowhere in that did he dispute anything she said. And he's like, I appreciate your explanation. Do you? Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
We're giving fucking Al Qaeda sympathizers money money and weapons and training, and gear that'll be used against us, right? It'll
Mm-hmm.
be used against us. Here's a fun fact. Uh, how many helicopters in Afghanistan or in Iraq were shot down by surface to air missiles that were Stinger missiles that killed American crew members, American military, that were given to them in the Middle East by the American government and CIA in the 80s and the early 90s? How many? Just about every fucking helicopter that was shot down by an American munition that was given to them through the Mujahideen in Afghanistan or to help fight Saddam through proxy war and things like that. We killed ourselves because we gave a bunch of fucking crazy weapons and said, hey, we're going to train you. But when the time comes, don't use it against us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use it against us. The same every fucking time we make these same mistakes. And then you get somebody like Tulsi to come in and call it out. She called out as, a run for president, and then it's like completely blacklist her for that time forward. I mean, she got put on a fucking no-fly list by Kamala Harris for talking about Kamala being part of this shit. Like, are you serious? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, that's the deep state, right? That's the fucking deep state right there. You want to talk about who's deep state? People like that are definitely fucking deep state.
Well, since you brought him up, let's play Tulsi's opening statement.
I'm honored and grateful to President Trump for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Chuck Schumer admitted a few years ago, quote, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence.
Weapons of mass destruction.
This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers, millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of Al Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran. Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once, but twice. And yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this:
covered that right
this
away.
must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with the critical task of securing our nation. If confirmed as DNI, I will do my very best to fulfill this mandate and bring leadership to the intelligence community with a laser-like focus on our essential mission, ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. As the President's principal intelligence advisor, I'll begin by leading by example, checking my own personal views at the door, and committing to delivering intelligence that is collected, analyzed, and reported without bias, prejudice, or political influence.
Amen.
I enlisted in the
About
Army because
fucking
of the
time.
horrific terrorist attack on September 11th and volunteered to deploy to Iraq in 2005, where I served in a medical unit. After nearly 22 years in uniform with 3 combat deployments to the Middle East and Africa, I'm now a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, where I serve as a battalion commander of soldiers in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. I served in Congress for 8 years on the Homeland Security, Foreign Affairs, and Armed Services committees. And it's my experience in the military and in the halls of Congress that have given me a deep understanding of the complex challenges that our nation faces, in both roles engaging with world leaders, in both roles being privy to highly classified intelligence. So I know firsthand how essential accurate, unbiased, and timely intelligence is to the President, to Congress, and to our warfighters. I also know the heavy cost of intelligence failures and abuses. Senator Collins, you led the creation of ODNI specifically to address those intelligence failures of 9/11 and Iraq's so-called WMDs. The need for the ODNI under strong leadership still exists today. If confirmed, I'll bring my experience and fresh eyes to leading the intelligence community. And my day one priorities will be to assess the global threat environment, identify where gaps in our intelligence exist, integrate intelligence elements, increase information sharing, and ensure that unbiased, apolitical, objective collection and analysis to support the president and policymakers' decision-making occur. I'll work to end the politicization of the intelligence community and ensure there is a clear mission focus in the IC on its core mission of this unbiased, apolitical collection and analysis of intelligence to secure our nation. I'll work to rebuild trust through transparency and accountability. This is a national security imperative. And I'll work to assess and address efficiencies, redundancies, and effectiveness across ODNI to ensure focus of personnel and resources is on our core mission of national security. Now, in my meetings that I've had with many of you, you expressed bipartisan frustration about recent intelligence failures, as well as the lack of responsiveness to your requests for information. Whether it's the surprise October 7th Hamas terrorist attack, to the sudden takeover of Syria by Islamist extremists, failures to identify the source of COVID, anomalous health incidents, UAPs, drones, and more. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you to address these issues.
I want to know, like
I
the
thought she
anomalous
said.
health,
Go ahead.
the anomalous health incidents. Is she talking about the DEWs? She
I
must
don't
be.
know. Yeah.
Uh,
I thought she said something else at the end. That's why I played it out. Sorry.
yeah, it was long, but that's fine. It was a really powerful opening statement. That's who I want, right? I've said this repeatedly. In the military, you don't have the choice of being political. You're apolitical, and that's the way it should be. You just represent the American people, and you listen to your commander in chief and all those appointed over you, and you do your job. You go where they tell you to go, and you do what they tell you to do until or unless you think that the orders being given are unlawful, and then you have a duty and a due diligence to say no. That's the role here. That's the job. And what she's saying there is reality, right? Like, our intelligence apparatus has been manipulated for wars, for profit. There was no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And I don't care if you've watched somebody online say that they found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They're full of shit. That's a lie. I don't care if it's a Delta Force somebody or a Navy SEAL somebody who said it on YouTube. I don't give a fuck. If there was a single weapon of mass destruction in Iraq, everyone would have known about it, and they would have said that would have been the approval that they needed for everything that they did in Iraq. We never had that. Never. There might have been delivery systems, There was no weapon there. There was nothing in the warheads. There was nothing. That's it. They were gone. Nothing. Um, but the whole war was predicated on that bullshit, right? And that's because your intelligence apparatus was manipulated by the deep state for profit, a war for profit. And those were Republicans doing that back in the day, right? But what gets me the most when she was talking, when I said that we started with the Arab Spring in Tunisia, and then we went to Mubarak in Egypt, and
Mhm.
then we went to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, and then we pushed for Bashar al-Assad, and we were pushing al-Assad's regime change until Putin stepped in, and it was 50-50. When Putin backed up Assad, we could no longer, you know, uh, equip the rebels well
Mhm.
enough to get rid of Assad. But when she did all that, and we created through the Muslim Brotherhood, we created ISIS and everyone else. Those were Republicans working with a Democrat president to do this,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah.
want that to sink in. I want that to sink in. Barack Obama, John Brennan, and John Clapper created programs to train terrorists, and the Republican senators and congressmen jumped on the bandwagon between Boehner, Ryan, Lindsey Graham, and John McCain, and they fucking equipped. There are pictures of those individuals with members of the Muslim Brotherhood who then became the figureheads of ISIS
Mhm.
during the Arab Spring. We, through these programs, did this. What in the would a Democrat president be doing equipping terrorists and the Republicans right alongside them helping to fund and train the terrorists?
Mhm.
That's the fucking deep state. That's the deep state,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's a reason we keep saying Lindsey Graham is a fucking slime ball, and you either approve these people or get the fuck out of the way because you don't deserve to be there. Because that guy is a fucking slime ball. He's been playing both sides forever, right?
Yeah.
And he did it under Trump's first administration. He was, oh, Donald Trump is so great, and I'm gonna say all these things because people love Trump, and I see that. And my voting base won't vote for me if I don't go with Trump. Okay,
Mhm.
Roger, I get it. We all see it. We know what you are. But
Yeah.
now is the time to get rid of these people. And that's what, having Hegseth in his position is going to do. He's not going to fucking capitulate to the freaking warmonger crowd. He's not. That's
Mhm.
what Tulsi's doing. She's not going to capitulate to the deep state apparatus that's had control of the intelligence agencies. That's what RFK is doing. That's what freaking Ratcliffe is doing as the director of the CIA. He's not going to let that happen. It's not getting out anymore, and they're slowly going to pick off people one by one by one. They're going to find and they're going to weed them out and they're going to get rid of them. And you're already starting to see it because there's people exiting on their own before
Mhm.
Biden even left office. They're leaving. So it's starting. It's not finished yet. It'll get finished when Kash Patel reaches the FBI and we now have investigative powers to go after people that made shit up, that just unilaterally broke laws to uh it's almost treasonous to overthrow a president of the United States, but that's kind of what they were trying to do through election process, right? And that's why in Cash's hearings, you're seeing them ask, are you going to investigate this person? Are you going to investigate that person? Are you going to do this? Did you say this? They're trying to uh just like uh Elizabeth Warren with frickin' RFK, they're trying to shore up their people and make sure that nobody's going to be investigated who belongs to the deep state or who is bought and paid for. That's what they're doing right now.
Mhm.
And it's so obvious right now, just sitting back and listening to these clips as the American people, it's unbelievable how much of this is going around. You know what I mean? Like, we're not the only two saying it. It's all over X right now. It's all over social media that, oh my God, I'm a Democrat and I can't believe these people are acting this way in a hearing. I didn't know all this. I cannot vote for the Democrats again. I
Mhm.
can't in good faith do that. And you're starting to see it. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, they have no choice. The deep state's calling in all the favors, and the people that have bought and paid for their freaking support in our government are now saying, no, no, you got to fight this. You absolutely have to fight this. So it's career survival by trying to go along with Trump, or it's career suicide, which is going against him. And the deep states, they're trying to pull out all the stops. You look at who was it? John Brennan was just crying that he had his freaking security clearance pulled by Trump. He was crying on
Yeah.
MSNBC or it was CNN where he's like, I can't believe he did that, but this is exactly what this president's doing. He just is going to go after anybody who opposes him.
Now I
No, you
can't.
silly
Now I
piece
can't
of
help
shit.
them make decisions. Like
Right.
they were
No,
gonna
no, you
fucking
silly.
call you.
Right. This piece of shit, nobody trusts you after what you've done. Nobody trusts you. You shouldn't have a security clearance because you bought, paid for, and you're exactly what we're trying to get rid of. You, Clapper, Comey, all of you needed to go. And you should not have your security clearance. I hope he pulls them all.
Yeah. I mean, they have pulled over. They pulled the 51, right? They pulled Bolton, and who else? They just pulled Millie's.
They should.
So, yeah.
They should. And it should continue.
Mhm.
These people should not have access to inside information anymore. That they just should not.
Yep. I just saw a thing. Um, right now the betting odds for confirmation Tulsi's the low one at 43%. RFK is at 76% and Cash Patel's at 95%. But then I saw a thing that said that here it is. Insiders have revealed that President Trump is prepared to go scorched earth against any Republicans who vote against the confirmations of Tulsi and RFK Jr. If they try to touch Tulsi and Kennedy, then it's war, from a Trump advisor. If Tulsi or Bobby face real trouble, that's when Trump will really start to fight. They represent the challenging of the status quo of the bureaucracy. That's what MAGA is about, another Trump advisor. So this was like a few hours ago, and then Cornyn came out and said he was voting yes for Tulsi.
Of course he did. Uh-huh.
Message received.
Yeah. Then sometimes that's what it takes. Like
Well, that
the fuckery is done.
Nicole, you want to play that Nicole
Shanahan.
Shanahan
Yeah,
video?
Do you have that?
Yeah, I'll get it. Here's just a second.
And honestly, here's what you have, right? When this whole thing's when we started this thing, we had talked about Trump, to be wise, should build a coalition, right? He should get Tulsi, he should get RFK, he should get, all these people. And that's kind of how you rebuild this country, is by using the people from both sides of the aisle. So there's credibility in this. And you go after the establishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like maybe a month later, Trump's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And we're like, holy shit, it's almost like he listened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And honestly, it wasn't like some kind of, prophetic thing that we, gazed upon there. It's just what made sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're doing, is what makes sense. And you're seeing it now, like Nicole Shanahan is like, hey, listen, if you're out there and you're going to oppose Bobby for trying to make our kids safe, we're going to fuck you up. We're coming after you. And she's like, I'll make it my fucking life's mission to fuck you up. And she put that out there.
So Nicole Shanahan is going scorched earth. And she had posted this video and she tagged all of the senators that she's going to personally finance primaries against if they vote against Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
One of these senators from Nevada, either her or the intern, decided to cock off. Like, I'm not gonna cave to you or any other billionaire. And then it was pointed out to that intern that she has taken approximately $15,000 a year from Big Pharma for the last 34 years.
Add that up.
Yeah. What was it? It was like $34 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head. Uh, yeah, she's not playing. So here's what she here's the video she posted. It's the title of the video is Bobby may play nice, I will not.
Yep.
Hey everyone, tomorrow is a pivotal moment in our nation's history. At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, RFK will sit in front of the Senate Finance Committee for his confirmation hearing to be our nation's next Secretary of Health and Human Services. I urge everyone to call their U.S. senators over the following days and demand they vote yes on Bobby's nomination. He is more than qualified. He's proven, principled, and prepared to lead. I'll share a list below of key senators. If they represent your state, they need to hear from you. If they don't, please call your own senator and ask them to vote yes. We need as many votes as we can get. So this hasn't been widely reported, but in 2020, I cut large checks to Chuck Schumer to help Democrats flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia from red to blue. The 2 candidates I helped elect, Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator John Ossoff, please know I will be watching your votes very closely. I will make it my personal mission that you lose your seats in the Senate if you vote against the future health of America's children. And more than that, I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Markowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto, this is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. Big Pharma and Big Ag have exploited us for far too long. It ends now. You're either on the side of transparency and accountability, or you are standing in the way. The choice is yours. Please choose wisely.
It's a pretty powerful message.
Yeah.
But I mean, to understand her, she has some skin in the game. Like,
Oh yeah.
this isn't because she's not living with the aftermath of Big Pharma or Big Ag, right? So I don't know if you want to explain that, but she's got a dog in the fight.
Yeah. So her son, I believe,
Mhm.
has some medical issues. I
Yes.
think it's he's autistic, correct?
Mhm.
And so yeah. That I don't know the whole backstory about that, but I would imagine it's has to do with the
He believes
vaccines.
it's due to
Yeah,
vaccines.
yeah,
He
correct.
believes that her son was normal
Hmm.
until he took the vaccine, and he took the vaccine and then developed autism. And from that time forward, she has decided she is making it her life's mission to whatever she's got to do to make sure that the people who did this will not do this anymore.
Right.
Because she believes she found that there were studies done in whatever it was that the vaccine that she had her son had taken. There's the potential for it to have that happen.
Hmm.
Unproven, right? Nobody's come out and proved it.
Allegedly, YouTube.
Allegedly YouTube. Nobody's proved it. I'm not saying that this is true YouTube. You can never mind. We won't.
Hmm.
There's a
Yeah.
maneuver.
Yeah.
It's more of a maneuver. But she's absolutely steadfast in her support for this. So she's not playing around.
No,
For her, this is like for her, she's on the precipice of actually seeing the change that she's been fighting for since her son developed autism.
I think what would scare me the most about her is not only is she a billionaire,
Mhm.
but she was really early into AI. So
Oh
she
yeah.
could probably whip up some stuff that
Oh
would
yeah.
make it very hard for you to win any election.
Oh yeah. Oh, she will.
Yeah.
She
Yep.
will.
To
She's not.
search everything you've ever done and dig it all up and put it out there.
Yep. And she is not afraid to do so. And
Hmm.
she's not above using her money to take out attack against you.
Correct.
And that's exactly what she'll do.
Yeah.
And it will be very effective.
But
Uh
like she said, it isn't just going to be her.
no, it's gonna
There,
be hundreds of
that's
thousands. I mean,
the
she's got a
whole
following.
Maha and now the Mega
She's got a
movement.
following
Yep.
that is massive on her
Yes.
own. So does
Yes.
so does Bobby.
Yes.
The two of them have a giant following, and they will
Hmm.
direct those weapons at at those senators, and they should.
Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
like, yeah, what I'm saying is it's not just their movements, right? It's going to be Trump too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Trump will, like you said, he has
Right.
already put
He's
it
going
out
to go
there.
scorched earth.
He will go scorched earth.
Well, and so is Elon, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest billionaire of the billionaires
Right.
is personally going to finance every one of your primary people, and she's going to help.
Right.
So.
I already see this. Like what you're seeing right now, the dagger is in the deep state, right?
Yes. Yes.
But this administration that has come just has not been able to. It's like the dagger's in the stomach of the deep state, but they haven't been able to move up to the heart yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know
So,
what it reminds me of is that the end of the Bourne movie where he talks about, oh, that program's been closed, but they just opened it up under a different name.
name.
That's
Yeah, that's
essentially
it.
what they're trying to do now.
Right. I mean, they're trying to keep as many of their people there and with what limited resource and power that they can muster
Hmm.
just to get by the 4 years
Hmm.
because they're going to put everything back in place after 4 years.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening after Trump's first administration is he did so much damage to their timeline. And this isn't a conspiracy. This is the reality. Those people on the far left fall into three camps. The first camp is like the diversity camp, right? The DEI, the trans movement, the equal rights. That the second camp is the green energy camp. The Green New Initiative, because of all of the stuff that they have, right? Um, and then the third camp is kind of like the war hawk, funding wars all over the place camp. Those are the three camps that these people all fall into. They're owned by somebody, and some of them are owned by all three camps. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you're either owned by the climate, you know, grift, or you're owned by big war, or you're owned by the diversity. And then the subtle little thing that you're starting to see that has now come out, because those historically have been the three things that you've seen fought in open for the longest time, right?
Hmm.
But now you're starting to see the truth about big pharma and the truth about big ag and the truth behind all these things. Like, oh, red dye is bad for you. Yeah, we've known that it's caused cancer forever. Well, why do they put it in their food? Well, because it's cheap, it's easy, and beyond that, I don't know why. It was
Hmm.
profit for them, and they didn't care about the results, right? Oh, well, this potentially could cause autism. Why didn't they say anything about it? Well, because they don't care if it potentially causes autism. They have a saying to themselves, well, 85% of them won't cause autism. I don't care about the other, 15%. So you start to see these people that are being exposed now, and it's happening like, I don't know, it's like over the last 6 or 7 years, it's gotten exponentially faster because I think you're getting more support from people that we never had before. The Elons, the Shanahans, the RFKs, like they're willing to work together for the benefit of the collective good. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not get behind this movement? And I know people are afraid of it, and they're dying to say that Elon's a Nazi. Nazi saluted and did this crap. And like, if you're that fucking stupid to like believe that, if you're that stupid, like if you can't see that he's an eccentric individual and he touched his heart and then waved by putting his hand out in front of the crowd, if
Hmm.
you don't understand who he is as a person, you're a fucking moron. If you don't see who he is and the type of person he is, you're an idiot.
Did you see the Governor Walz thing, Tim Walz, Rachel Maddow interview, where he said
No.
that they're being distracted? Like he was discussing how he doesn't understand how they lost. And um he said they're being distracted by he's like, by this Elon Nazi salute. Of course it was a Nazi salute, blah blah blah. So then Elon came out and was like, I think I'll sue him for defamation. Like, bro, don't fuck with someone that can bury you just for fun.
Like, but that's the stuff that needs to happen,
Of
right?
course it needs to happen.
I mean, so you're telling me there's no fucking way Tim Walz believes that that was a Nazi salute.
No, not at
There's
all.
no way. There's
Not at
no
all.
way,
Not at all. And
right?
the longer this goes without Tim Walz coming out and saying, yeah, whatever, some mea culpa, like
Right.
that
Yeah.
he's gonna get sued.
He should. He should. And this is like I this is what I loathe about the deep state. Tim Walz was a fucking teacher
Mm-hmm.
before he joined Congress, right? Before he went and worked in the government. He was a teacher. He numerous trips to China, is connected to some people who are part of the CCP. He did all of these things. He came back, he joined Congress, he then worked his way up to be the governor of Minnesota, and he's been there ever since. This motherfucker is overseeing some of the most corrupt shit that's happened in the state of Minnesota, probably ever, right? Under
Ever.
his watch with his attorney general, I mean, ever.
It's
And
not even the fraud stuff. They increased taxes $9 billion, and then they're now in a $5 billion deficit.
wow,
Not long ago, they were in a
right?
$3 billion surplus.
Correct, correct.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, all these programs, these giveaways that he's put in place, money's coming back to him, and it's been proven. And what do they say? Well, we'll give back whatever they gave us. These people for the feeding our future, we'll give back. We'll donate it to a charity. No, motherfucker, it's too late for that. The
Mm-hmm.
light of accountability is coming down on top of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one who chose to be with Kamala. You're the one who chose to freaking throw your hat in the ring. You know the demons you have in the closet. You know the bullshit you've done, the stolen valor, your fucking lies, your links to the CCP. You know all of that is out there. Well, it doesn't surprise you that an idiot like this mush mouth, goes on freaking Rachel Maddow or CNN or MSNBC, wherever it is he goes on to. He's like, no, of course that was a Nazi salute. They have done this from the beginning. They're trying to turn the American public, which they can't at this point because everyone sees it increasingly now, more and more and more. But what they're trying to do is incentivize some psychopath to take a shot at Elon or take a shot at Trump or to do whatever they can do. And it's been done, right? Twice
Mm-hmm.
to Trump now, twice to Trump. And it's they're not slowing down. It's just like the deep state right now is in the process of dying. You've already got the knife in the gut. There's no coming back for it. There's no help for you in the next 4 years.
Mm-mm.
There's no help unless you can steal an election and take back the House and the Senate. If they continue to do what they say they're going to do on what they said on the campaign trail, that had the majority of Americans voting for Donald Trump, if they get rid of inflation, if they lower the tax burden, if they secure the border, if they deport the illegal immigrants and bring down the rates of crime and fentanyl coming in here, if they find government fucking fiscal responsibility through Doge, if we all of a sudden become a world leader again, hell, they just fucking slapped 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. If we continue to do these things and bring back manufacturing jobs here in the United States and make life for Americans better, it doesn't matter, deep state. You're not getting back the House and the Senate without cheating. And guess what? With Ratcliffe and Tulsi and fucking Kash Patel, you're not going to be able to cheat to fucking do it.
Yeah.
So there is no coming back.
Yeah, if they do all of that, it will be a landslide of epic proportions. And I hate using the word epic.
Yeah,
but
it will be bigger.
It will be, and it won't be just the House and the Senate. It will be state governments. It will be they will load all the way up, all the way down to city council and school boards, right?
Absolutely.
Like they did in Florida.
And then what'll end up having to happen is what we just talked about earlier. The Democrat Party will have to rebrand and become the party of the people again. Just like now, they're no longer the party of the people. They're the party of big ag, big pharma, big tech. They're the party of censorship. They're the party of ridiculous. They're the party of handout, the party of weakness. The American dream has just shifted back over to the Republican Party where it started, where we've come full circle to the beginning, the institution of the Republican Party. And we are now on that track once again. And if we continue on this track, the Democrat Party cannot stand until they have another moment like they did in the early 60s in the Vietnam conflict, where all of a sudden the parties flipped and the Republicans became the racists and the Democrats became the party of the people. How that happened, how we ever let that happen, How the Republicans didn't call it out for what it was, I have no idea. Stupidity, ignorance,
Mm-hmm.
pride, whatever it was, doesn't matter. They let it happen. But we're now in the transformation of going all the way back around full circle. And you're starting to see those in the deep state that really want nothing more than to complete this agenda by 2030 because they fall into one of those crowds, the climate, crowd, the freaking woke ideology crowd, or the freaking Warhawk crowd. They fall into one of those, so they're in their it's like their death bellows right now. They're screaming as much as they can, and you're seeing it, like I said, in these hearings. It's coming out, and like the amount of bullshit that we're gonna see going forward is it's I mean it's comical at this point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The media, what was it, Caitlin Collins, I think today tried to call Trump out for saying the DEI stuff about uh the airline disaster that just happened, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
we're not even 24 hours removed and you're already saying that DEI caused this. How do you know that? And he's like, because I have common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Most don't, but I have common sense. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, the people you want the names. He's like, we'll release. Not that does it matter. The names, people just died. Does that matter right now to you? Like, and then he's
Yeah.
like, that was a really dumb question. Like, even for you, you're pretty smart. That's a dumb question. And then he moved on. What he's gonna do now is just completely bypass the haters in the media, and they're not gonna get a chance.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get a chance to freaking have their quotes,
Mm-hmm.
their little snippets, their sound bites, and you have to do that. The shield has been in place for so long. The targeting has been in place for so long. The intelligence apparatus, the people in the military that are up in the higher echelons, all of these things at all levels are the senators, the congressmen, all of them, right, have been in place for so long with the media cover and the media support that now that it's like a stone's throw away from being removed, they are in full fucking panic. And you know why they're in full fucking panic? And I honestly believe this. It's one person's name that they're in panic. What do you think I'm going to say? Jeffrey fucking Epstein.
Oh yeah, that was brought up in the hearing today with Cash, and he said he'd release it.
Uh, he better.
Mm-hmm.
He better. And that has them shaking.
Who was it? Somebody said something like maybe. Oh, was it Kennedy? I don't know. I feel like it was a senator, but maybe it was just a media person. Said that Senator Durbin must have friends on the list.
That was Marsha Blackburn.
Was that Blackburn? Okay.
Yeah. She said it because she tried to get Senator Durbin to release the list.
Yes, that's right.
And he denied that he had any knowledge of a list. And
Yeah.
she's like, that's not true. I asked you about it right in front of you. He's like, you never directly asked me. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I put it on record asking for the list. You're the freaking chairman. What do you mean? I never asked you.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was her that said you must have friends on the list, but he obviously
Somebody said it. I don't remember who it was.
obviously has friends on the
Mm-hmm.
list.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of them on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Or linked to people on the list, like
Yeah.
closely linked to people on the list.
Well, it's probably just the big names in the Democratic Party that aren't like. I mean, there obviously is politicians on the list. What I'm trying to say is not politicians, but like the people behind the scenes that run everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Listen, if the Clintons are on the list, which they are,
they are.
Bill has been to the island several times, so has Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
If they're on the list, you know that other prominent political figures are on the list because
Of course they
the
are.
only thing that those two clowns did, Bill and Hillary, was whatever they could to enrich themselves
Mm-hmm.
and whatever they could to gain political power and clout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about this. When Bill Clinton left the Oval Office, Hillary ransacked that place and stole artwork. She stole statues. I mean, she like took whatever the fuck she wanted because she's Hillary Clinton,
Mm-hmm.
right? They had to remodel the place after they left because they took everything. They took everything. So you see these things and you know who they are. And if they're on the list and the people that they've rubbed shoulders with, you've seen what they've done with the Clinton Foundation. You've seen what they did in Haiti with like getting billions of dollars to freaking donations and spending nothing on the Haitians.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what they did with trying to take Haitian kids out of fucking Haiti. You saw all this crap, right? You know, and you know others that were in their circle are going to be on that list. And during the time of the Clinton rise to power, there was a lot of people in their circles.
Mm-hmm.
The Chuck Schumers of the world, Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the Adam Schiffs of the world, a young CIA agent turned into a congressman, Adam Schiff. Those people of the world, they were on that list. They've been there, they've done that, and obviously you're seeing why they're fighting so hard now. All the masters that they're beholden to are in danger. And then
Mhm.
how many other billionaires that they receive money from are also on that list? Like you said, the people behind them.
And Gates.
Bill, oh, that gate, yeah, wow. It's funny that as soon as it comes out that Bill Gates was at Epstein's New York apartment and on the island, Melinda's like, yeah, this is I'm out.
Yeah.
They had a divorce with irreconcilable differences, but I wonder what those differences be.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so I got to clean up one thing before I
Yeah.
forget to do it. That Catherine Cortez Masto
Yep.
from Nevada, it was not 34 million. $15,000 a year for 34 years does not equal 34 million.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I thought it was 15.
$537,000.
I thought you mistook a year for a month.
Yeah, no, it was
That's what I thought you were gonna do.
no, it was significantly off on my math.
Math is hard.
Math is hard.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I regardless of the number, I mean, if you're taking any money from Big Pharma and then you're uh
Yeah, it was 15,000 a year, which is still a big chunk of change.
well, that's the max that you can get for a campaign donation, right? So I mean, like
I don't know.
I think I think it's 15,000 from PACs and 5,000 from individuals. Because I thought Dinesh D'Souza got put in jail for giving over $5,000 of campaign contributions, and Barack had him put in jail. Meanwhile, others had done the same thing and paid a fine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it just depends on what side of the aisle you're on and who it goes for and who's in power.
Correct. The top people on this list. Let me know
Mhm.
if any of these names sound familiar from the hearings.
Okay.
Sanders,
Bernie was
Wa-
number one.
Warnock was number two.
Warnock or
Warren
Warren?
Warnock,
Okay.
Raphael
Raphael.
Warnock.
Oh, he's relatively new though.
Yeah, and it's 1.7 million.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth Warren at 1.2.
Weird.
Wyden, who just went after, I think it was Cash, right? Or was it
Yep.
Tulsi?
No, they've gone after. It's the same group going after all of them.
Yeah, but
So
they're not all on the same committees.
no.
Michael Bennett, who I know he went after them, and then that Castro or the Cortez
What are
Masto.
what are the numbers though that you stopped after?
Bernie's 1.9. Warnock
Okay.
is 1.7. Elizabeth Warren was 1.2. Wyden was 1.2. Then Bennett was 700,000 and Massa was 537,000 and Hassan from New Hampshire is
Yep.
467,000. It just has those listed.
It's
That's from Nicole Shanahan, who wrote, "To the intern who thought they could lie and get away with it, these are the receipts."
yeah. Well, and you know what? I wonder if that intern even knows. You know what I mean? I
Probably
bet you
not.
they're not auditing themselves,
Hmm.
They don't probably know what
Her,
Elizabeth Warren or whoever
yeah,
else has taken.
her tweet was from Masso's account was Big Pharma spent millions against me and I didn't back down. Coke spent millions against me and I didn't back down. I know entitled rich people think they can buy Nevada's Senate seat. They can't. I work for Nevada, not billionaires like Nicole Shanahan.
But that's a good response to come back and be like, "Here's the receipts, bitch."
Yeah, yeah, and to be like to the intern who thought they were cute.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Here's the receipts. Um,
Yep.
th- Honestly, this is the battle we're gonna have, right? Until we can get lobbyists out of Washington, this is the battle from now until that can be figured out that we're gonna have. We need to kill lobbyism.
And
It should
term
not be there.
limits.
Term limits and lobbyism. And I mean, even if you're not going to get term limits, I'm good with lobbyism,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
you take away their ability to make money, you take away their ability to raise money for their campaigns, and they're not going to have the ability to freaking lie and to
They just won't
spread
stay
their
there that
shit.
long. Yeah.
Right.
They'll go
They're
do
going to
what,
turn it out.
yeah. They'll go do what they're
So,
supposed to do and then get out and join their board.
right.
Yeah.
But they can't stay in politics for 20 years and do 20 years worth of damage while being bought and paid for.
Yeah.
And where else is this legalized corruption and fraud anywhere else legal? It's not legal anywhere else. Like, you can't go into a company board meeting for some company that's being traded publicly as a representative for another company and pay the board members to do what you want to do for the stock markets to change.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You
Right.
go to prison, but
Yeah.
you can do it in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it in the Senate. Like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. And that needs to change. Once that changes and money stops controlling politicians, overnight we're going to have a
The
different
insider
Washington.
trading.
Yeah, insider trading's got to go. And honestly, that's for me. That can be a second or a third. Honestly, you got to get rid of lobbyism first, so
Yeah.
that those people can't be controlled. Like, I have less of a problem with them getting to Washington and using their own version of insider trading to get wealthy than I do them using outside money, dark money, and groups that have interest in their own benefit, like self benefit, right? Not the collective benefit of the nation, buying a candidate and keeping that candidate in power to continue to make sure that they are protected. You know what I'm saying? That's how
Mm-hmm.
you get red dye causes cancer, but we're not going to fucking remove it because the FDA will say, no, it's okay. Right. That's how you get this.
Yeah.
That's how this happens. That's how the pharmaceutical companies can fucking put drugs on the market and get stuff added to a vaccine schedule. And there's the potential, allegedly, that these things could have side effects that may cause autism or may cause something else. That's how you get a fucking mandated vaccination for an entire nation of federal workers and almost all the way down to every single person in the country.
Mm-hmm.
A mandate that they have to take a vaccination that doesn't even fucking it didn't stop the spread, didn't stop you from getting the virus, and it didn't stop you from dying from it. What's the fucking point? Right? That's how you get these things, is because you have lobbyists in place that have bought the power that slides you the freaking money under the table, and all these things become acceptable, right? And if we can just get rid of that, if we can take the money away from the candidates, then maybe we start to figure shit out on our own.
Yeah. So
Oh,
sorry, I was laughing and I feel like I distracted you. I apologize. I just stumbled across the the Babylon Bees post today about Tulsi.
oh boy.
Says Babylon Bee writers get nothing done as Tulsi Gabbard is on TV.
Yeah, for several reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I no, it's okay. Go back to Tulsi. Like,
I was just trying to pull up like if there was any update on like account.
oh yeah.
That's what I was
I
trying to
have
look
this.
up, and I came across the Babylon Bee thing.
I have this to say about Tulsi, and this is where I don't agree with all of her politics. I
Right.
never will. Right? You
Yep.
and I are going to agree on everything. Right?
No, not at all.
What I do see in Tulsi is she means what she says, and she says what she means.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's got integrity. She's got honor. She is committed that she took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and she believes that to her core. Just like most of us who took that oath, we believe that to our core, right? She's lived the life of selfless service, duty, commitment, honor, sacrifice. She's lived that life. She's lived the warrior's ethos before for the military. She knows what it means. She's seen people get torn up in combat and come through her care. She's been a part of a lot of things in a lot of places. And she's telling you right now, she will approach this job to make sure that we have the most fair, impartial, and apolitical intelligence apparatus that we've ever had, right? And that is a message, regardless of your previous politics, that I feel I can get behind, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, it doesn't matter. I can absolutely get behind that.
Hmm.
Um, and it's finally, you know what I mean? Finally, we can start to have people in these places
Yeah.
where you can trust them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly. You know what I mean? Like I've talked about it with you behind closed doors. We got sent to Iraq and they're like, yeah, you're here for weapons of mass destruction. No, I wasn't.
Hmm.
I was there to put a bullseye on my back to bring crazies from all over the freaking world and the Muslim nations just to make sure there wasn't a secondary attack on the homeland because we didn't have the intelligence apparatus in place because of our failures to make sure that we could vet and find and investigate incoming threats fast enough to stop them. So we put
Hmm.
soldiers on the ground in Muslim countries to act as fucking targets for everyone else, and then in hopes to overthrow a couple dictators and institute some form of democracy inside of that when we knew it was a failing ideology the whole time.
Yeah.
That was it. That's why we were there. And while we were there, the people that sent us there, the Cheneys of the world, made tons of money off us. Tons of money in the freaking Warhawk Drift, right? That's why we
Hmm.
were there. Tulsi knows that. She knows it just as well as every other guy from the Watt era understands it. We know exactly what we were doing there, and we know exactly the bullshit that was said to send us there. And we know what we did was absolutely for nothing. It was for nothing. How do you know it was for nothing? Because you gave the fucking country back. Not only did you give it back, but we were telling you the entire time you cannot let the Iraqi military try to defend itself. They can't. They can barely do fucking push ups. They can't defend themselves.
Hmm.
They can't. And nobody listened to us. So, yeah, she sees it. She knows it. And this is it. This is a great thing for us. And again, regardless of politics, her message was spot on how I feel, how many of us feel. It's apolitical. And if she goes in there and even conducts herself in 75% of what she said, she'll be the best we've ever had,
Yeah.
bar none.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know when her second hearing is? Was that today?
It was
There's a
supposed to be.
the closed door was today too.
I thought the closed door was today, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I've not
I,
heard
I thought
anything about it.
I thought by tomorrow we were going to get the vote.
For real? That
Yeah,
fast?
I thought so.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Because it's taken forever on everybody else.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure that the next positions, like these next four positions, um, they will move faster because you have no choice. You have to move them faster.
Hmm.
You can't not have a director of intelligence. You can't not have a
Well,
director of the FBI.
Pam Bondi still hasn't gotten a full Senate vote.
Yeah, but
That's
that's not a national security. That's like a
the Attorney General.
yeah. The attorney general is just like the lawfare side of it, right? The FBI is like counterterrorism, and then the DNI is the director of the national intelligence. That's
Sure,
those are
but
all national security.
FBI
That's why Noel
reports
went
the
through.
Bondi.
Sure, for domestic things, but
I
the
don't.
FBI is the ones that are running the investigation. You need somebody there.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. Like, you could get away with an interim AG for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So you have to have the experience at the director position to vet the campaigns you're going after, right? You
Hmm.
you have to have that. Bondi's just the law side of it, the I don't know how to the attorney side of it, the legal beagle side of all of that. Like, hey, what cases do you have for me?
Yeah. Oh, so it was today. The closed hearing
Yeah.
was today.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is Suzanne Collins apparently has sounded positive about her exchange with Tulsi. I asked Collins after her closed hearing with Gabbard if the jury was still out on her vote, and she said, "That's correct. I want to make a careful decision." So she said that she was happy with her responses and other questions that she had heard, but she was one of those members that was also on the committee that RFK was in front of. So she wasn't there for the whole thing. She wants to review all the,
Of course he does.
yeah,
And I don't. I mean,
that's fine.
that may be a little gamesmanship, or maybe you're doing your due diligence. I would request that it's
What?
the same at every hearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like if this is a Democrat, did you do the same thing for a
yeah,
Democrat, or did you
for
just
sure.
vote party line? Like, do your job. I understand that you got a job, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, you're Collins, Murkowski, and McConnell. Like, at the same time, we know your shtick. We know your game. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Um, but I don't falter for wanting to review the notes. Really, what it is it's giving her time to explain to Mitch McConnell and Democrats why she has to vote yes. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna primary me. Dianne Feinstein's not there to
Uh,
freaking slap a bitch up against the wall and be like, "Hey, no, you're gonna do what I tell you to do." So see what happens.
so Collins, Murkowski, McConnell, Todd Young from Indiana, Mike Rounds from South Dakota, and John Curtis from Utah apparently are all no's right now.
For Republicans.
Yeah, they got to get 3 of those 6 to vote yes.
Yep. And I mean, it's the deep state, man. Like it's the money and the controlling interests and the people who don't want. Uh, I want you to think about this. Everyone looks at like our intelligence agencies as just the CIA, right?
Hmm.
Um, but you don't. You have NSA. You've got the military version of military intel, the DIA. You have um, Homeland Security has intelligence apparatus. You have a couple others, right?
Hmm.
Um, so all of those intelligence apparatus and all those intelligence collections or agencies, if you will, it all goes through Tulsi,
Hmm.
right? Like she's the one who's using our automated systems, the AI systems that we have to cipher through everything. She's the one who gets to see what's collected. She's the one who gets to see all of these things, and they're terrified because,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, if you think back to the Edward Snowden thing, she's had comments where she's like, Edward Snowden isn't a traitor, and she said he pointed out a constitutional wronging that took place to the American public, the American people, with vast gathering of our data of
Hmm.
our communications that weren't supposed to be done, which were lied about by Clapper and Brennan, both lied about, the NSA taking the CIA taking our metadata. They lied openly about it, and she called them out for it, right?
Hmm.
So there's concerns on their behalf, like, okay, well, she's on the wrong side of all of this, and it's all bullshit. It's the deep state. It's the deep state. They don't want somebody in that position that can see the shit that they're doing, and she will. She'll call it out. Her opening statement was a warning to them, like, if I get in there, you better straighten your shit up.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can see why these deep state players are like, yeah, I'm a no for Tulsi. Trump can't have his agenda. He can't have that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So I was just looking up a thing. It said on it was a Tulsi like Twitter thing, like Tulsi for president or something. So it's not from Tulsi, but they're counting that they have 5 Dems that they're gonna vote for.
Really, because uh, Fox News is saying that her and RFK are in doubt.
Yeah, I've heard the RFK is not in doubt anymore. Um, that the betting markets have them at like 70%, 75%. So,
We'll see. Like Trump said, if you go against this picks,
hmm.
he doesn't have to put anybody else up there. They can just argue until he gets the votes. Um,
Right. Yeah.
That's never been. I mean, usually if you get shot down, they just put somebody else where they have a secondary pick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if Trump's saying no, there is no secondary pick, you will approve them, or we will just
Mm-hmm.
make your lives miserable.
Yeah.
And I could see Trump saying, "All right, you're not going to give me my picks for my administration. Well, then this is what I'm going to do. Here's an executive order about this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to executive order this. I'm going to do this." Like,
Mm-hmm.
and as his explanation to the Democrats, they're not voting for me, so I'm just going to do all this stuff. He can't put people in power, but he can, he can do other things to make people's lives in the Democrat Party
Mm-hmm.
miserable, and I think
For
he
sure.
will.
Do a
Uh,
recess appointment.
yeah. So we'll see. Time's going to tell what's going to happen there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Should know more in the next couple days.
Yep. It's I hope I hope those three make it through. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, those are massive picks that need to go through. They deserve to go through.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Agreed.
looking looking back at this stuff, I think we should probably start wrapping her up. But I just saw this Trump orders assessment of aviation safety in
Mm-hmm.
an executive order and names acting FAA administrator after deadly DC plane crash as the heading of the order. Um, they're going to investigate. They're going to look and make sure this doesn't happen again, and it's an executive order to do it. So that's the type of thing where, like, if this were in the past, this wouldn't have come out, right? I saw something. It wouldn't have been this fast anyway. I saw an X post from a guy who said this is what Washington used to be like until Trump. Um, something would happen. Everybody would get all up in arms about something happened. Then they would issue a study, or they would convene a panel to see if they needed to do a study. The panel would convene and disagree, but they'd agree to have another panel to further describe or investigate if they needed a study. That panel would get together and then they would say, "Yeah, we need the study," but then they would change the scope of the study, and then that changed scope of the study would say, "We need a panel to see if the scope of the change to the study that we've agreed upon needs to be done," and then eventually the panel that agreed upon the change of the study, the change of the scope, and the other panel would agree that a separate panel needed to be created. And it's the bloat, the rot of the government, um, and how they basically just kept themselves doing a job that could have been done instantly and way more efficiently. And that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing here. We're less than 24 hours after this. There is no panel. Trump comes out and says, "This is what we need to do. Get this done. I want to know if there's anywhere." And like you said, they need to look at all other agency or all other airports to see if there's any kinds of things like this that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And now we're going to know, and that's going to come out and it will be fixed.
Yeah.
That's the difference
That's
between leadership and bureaucracy,
for
right?
sure.
And that's nice to see. I also see that they released one pilot's name and the crew chief's name of the flight
Mm-hmm.
for the Black Hawk, and it looks like the training instructor had 1,000 hours flight time, which is a lot, and the pilot who was the trainee for the certification had 500 hours, which is kind of like the average.
Mm-hmm.
And the crew chief was very experienced himself, so it looked like that was not it was a very experienced crew, and it
Mm-hmm.
just terrible outcome, obviously. Um, there you have it.
Yeah.
Just sad.
It is
Uh,
sad.
before we wrap it up and go, did you see? Did you see Dana White? Uh, I'm a fan of combat sports, obviously boxing and
Yeah.
mixed martial arts. Did you see Dana White's response to Bryce Mitchell's comments?
No, I don't know what Bryce Mitchell's comments were.
Okay, so Bryce Mitchell is an MMA fighter, fights in the
Was this a
UFC.
Nazi thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you hear what his comments were?
Uh, I did, but I don't remember them.
So Bryce Mitchell has a podcast, episode number 1 of his podcast. This is
Okay.
episode 1. And
Okay.
they were talking about Elon Musk's Nazi salute, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for fuck's sakes, if you're too stupid to realize, even Bryce Mitchell, you're too fucking dumb to realize that what Elon did was not a fucking Nazi salute, then you shouldn't be talking about it. But here's what he had to say. He said, here's what I say about Elon Musk hailing Hitler, hailing the Nazis. I really don't think that he was, because I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination, right? Then he goes on to say this. I really do think before he got on meth, he was a guy I'd go fishing with. He fought for his country and he wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids, they were queering out the women, and they were queering out the dudes. Do you know where the first tranny surgery ever was? It happened to be in Germany before Hitler took over. End quote. Uh, it's safe to say that Bryce Mitchell's a fucking moron, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah.
safe to say. So Dana White, you have to like actually watch Dana White just absolutely take in an open interview, take Bryce down. But this is what he said. Quote, I've heard a lot of dumb and ignorant shit said over the years, but this is probably the worst. First of all, when you talk about Hitler, he was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews, and it was his intent to completely eliminate the Jewish people. Hitler is one of the most disgusting and evil human beings to ever walk the earth, and anyone that even tries to take an opposing position is a moron. That's the problem with the internet and social media. You provide a platform to a lot of dumb and ignorant people. And then he went on, he was asked, are you going to punish Bryce Mitchell for being a fucking idiot?
Yeah.
And this is the difference between the last 4 years and right now, right? And I just want to put this out there because it's a very good indicator of freedom starting to come back. Dana White says, no, I'm not going to punish him. He's got the right to free speech. And I can't control every idiot's mouth, but we need to see these things. And he said, and one of the good things is hopefully you get to see this moron knocked out on national television.
Yeah. That's
right?
funny. Yeah.
That
Fuck
is,
yeah.
it's fun. And it's true.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. If you censor everybody's speech, you're not going to censor their thoughts, right? But you don't get to see what their thoughts are. You
Mhm.
won't know that that's a person that you want to see knocked out, right?
Mhm.
But if you let them talk, you get to see who they really are. And that's also freedom. The protection of the First Amendment isn't just for the speech you like, it's for the speech you detest. And in that speech that you detest, that shows us who we are as people.
Yeah.
It shows us that where our culture is, right? So I wanted to point that out because I think finally we get to see some sort of normalcy come back. And somebody said it, that was very well put by Dana in Dana terms, is like, no, he's got the right to say whatever he wants. He's a fucking idiot for saying it. And the good part is maybe we all get to see his dumb ass get knocked out
Yeah. Yeah.
on TV. So for saying stupid shit. So let's all applaud that. And that's the return of America.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have seen this. Well, it's Dana White, so you might have seen him say this because he's believed this all along.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing a pushback against it like you would have 3-4 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Mhm.
And I think it's an encouraging sign. Right? It's an encouraging thing to see.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's all I got, man. I wanted to share that before we do
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a good one. For sure. But
Do you have anything else you want to wrap up on?
I don't think I have anything else. Tulsi's at 44% likely. So
See.
we'll see.
We shall see. Hopefully they pull that out.
Mm-hmm. That's
All
an
right, well,
important one.
Yeah, that is. It is very important. And if they pull it out, things can change for the better. And if they don't, Trump is going to, I don't even know. He's going to do something. He's got something planned.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know what it is, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be not fun for whoever's in the way of it.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But right on.
Hit him. Hit him with it.
All right, check us out on our website, bluecollartakes.com, Facebook, X, Truth. Yeah, we're on all of them. YouTube. So, until this one.
Probably. Whatever. Fuck them.
Yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining along for the ride, and take care, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Blue Collar Takes. Oh, and fuck YouTube.